And then we're gonna get rocking. Again, for this, just make sure, other than Chris, who I have already talked to about this, just make sure you're able to be like in a good spot for the meeting, where you can just kind of have no distractions, right? There's not like a TV behind you. You're not in the kitchen with everybody walking around, right? Um, all that. And then you're able to be at a good spot where you can kind of like prop up your, whatever and take some good notes as well too. So, as we get situated, just find a good spot, make sure you have something. And I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So, first off, welcome. This is the first of two MVP meetings for the next 2 weeks, kind of leading up to the SC2 push. I've got a lot of things that I prepped for this meeting for you today. So I want to make sure you get a lot of value, and I spent time prepping for it. So I'm going to make sure that I give you the goods as well too. I'll start just by saying. I remember being at this meeting 13 years ago. I don't know if we had this exact same structure. Obviously, we were at the office. In a ideal situation, we are at the office, but we'll rock with what we have for now. But I remember I was at this meeting. I started June 12th kind of weekend. So I'd been on the job at this point for about I had kind of just finished my fast start, maybe a week. So maybe, 2.5 weeks on the job. I was probably at 30, or sorry, I was probably at around, 3,000, maybe 3,500 bucks in sales so far, at that point into the summer. So some of you don't realize you're so much further ahead of me where I was at when I was brand new. And others of you maybe aren't, but it doesn't really matter where you are. It matters where you're going. And this event, this push period is something personally that means a lot to me because it changed completely how I view the job. I said this at the team meeting last week. I don't know that if I didn't fully commit to the alliance and being on being all in for the push period that I would probably be here today. I could be wrong, but I went from being a new rep. I think I was at 4,000 like by the start of the push period. And I went from 4,000 to 16,500 in essentially 17 or 18 days. And so I share that with you to give you just perspective of where I was at this point. The summer, as much as there's a lot of time left, there's also a lot of sales left, and the majority of most of your incomes are still left to be taken or earned for the rest of the summer. So I'll just start by saying that. I'll also start by sharing with you hey, congratulations on like being here, right? This was an invite only event, and so we have the people that we are excited about on here for this event that we want on the alliance, or we're interested in having potentially on the alliance, and vice versa. So not that you're interviewing for the alliance, but in a sense, we want to make sure that it's a good fit for both of us, right? And because I have to be able to. I was telling this to Chris earlier on the phone. I have to be able to like back up the expectations with the results that you're going to be able to get. So if I say if you do this thing, you're going to get this result, then I got to make sure that that happens for you. Okay. And vice versa as well too. So I got to be able to give you here's what you need to do in order to get the results that you're after, which is what today is a lot about, and then the next couple of weeks leading up to the push. So I'll start with this. Again, thanks for being in a good spot. Again, make sure you don't have any distractions around you. Um, TVs, sounds, whatever. If you need to go to a different room, feel free to do so. But I just want you to be dialed in if we're gonna both, make sure that we take the time we're all dialed in. So, to kick things off, here's what we're gonna cover today. I'm gonna go through just a few opening comments here. And then I've got a recording from Lindley McCutcheon from last summer, who she gave one of the most elegant push messages um, I've ever heard. And so it'll be really good. This is coming from someone who's had a lot of accolades with the job, right? She sold 250,000 bucks in college. She's had multiple 20K plus push periods and so on and so forth. Then we'll take a quick break. And then Dylan's going to go through some advanced tips. And for some of you, the first time hearing about the app for recommendations. And then I'm going to talk to you about the fuel for your business, which is basically I'm going to give you some pointers on how to start getting the ball rolling with how to think about your names list and how to take action on that. And then I'll give a few tips on setting goals for yourself around the push. And then I'll show you the schedule of like kind of a template of what the during the push period could look like for you, pretty much from today moving forward. Okay. Bless you. Okay. And then again, our part two, our next part of this is next Monday, the 7th from 1 to 4. And again, my intention is that, we're at the office for it. So that is that's the agenda. That's what we're gonna pop through over the next couple hours. It's gonna go relatively quick, would be my opinion. So again, same thing I say in training is just like if you're gonna be here, really be here, just let's make sure that we're all, we're on point together and we get the most out of it because if I'm gonna take 3 hours out of your day and vice versa, I want to make sure that that it's worth it for you and vice versa here as well too. So with that being said, let me go ahead and dive into some things. There's a quote. Some of you guys have probably heard of John Wooden before. He's one of the most, I believe, still the most winningest college basketball coach in the history of the NCAA. And he talks about, don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. And so, um, again, congratulations on being here. What I'll share with you is that I've had this meeting over the years for hundreds of people, and I've also trained people throughout the push period to sell, a lot of Cutco, 30,000 plus for this push period and just a 2.5 week period as well too. 30% typically of our alliance sells 12,500 plus for the push period. And as a company, 20% of our annual sales from new reps come from the SC2 push for the entire year. Okay. Which is really cool. So, and this also is going to set up, it's not like this is the end all be all. This is like this, the Super Bowl, if you will, is SC2 conference, but it sets up an amazing August, and so on and so forth for you as well. So I'm going to walk you through a bunch of stuff here in my opening comments. Please make sure you have something to take notes with because I'm going to kind of rip through stuff. And if you, like what you hear or whatever, you can throw stuff into the chat box as well too. We can use that today since we're not physically right in front of each other. So over the push, $4 million is going to be sold worth of Cutco. So today is going to help you with like, what's your goal? What's your why or the reason you're going for it? The push is about testing what you're made of, right? It's called a push period for a reason. It's something that you're doing that's stretching you a little bit more, or maybe is a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And that's what pushing yourself is, right? It's doing something that you haven't done before or that you maybe don't think that you can do, right? Um, there's a great learning experience for you during the SC2 push. I learned a lot about myself and my resilience during the push period. There's obviously a great income opportunity as well. And then, just there's not a lot of opportunities that come up like this in life. If you were to tell some of your friends, right, my first SC2 push, I made about 4,000 bucks. And if you were to tell any of your friends that you were going to make 4,000 plus in 2.5 weeks, I don't think many of them would believe you. And what's cool is that here you get to do things that people don't think that you can do. And when you actually do it and you have like whatever you want to call it, the pay stub or the trophy or whatever, right? It's a really good feeling to be able to have. So The first thing I want to start off with is just right now, like why is it important for you to be here? I'd like for you to just on your own journal a couple things. So why is it important for you to be here? I think you want to set kind of like what's your reason, what's your intention for today? It might be because Nate said, "Hey, be here for this thing, and I'm gonna, teach you how to have a big push period." Or maybe you're relatively new, and you're like, "What's the next thing? I just finished my fast start," or I didn't invite anyone that's in their fast start, just to be clear. So, maybe it's something like that. And then what are you going to do to make this event as meaningful and fulfilling as possible for you and and maybe even for others as well too, because we'll do some group shares here and there too. My goal is not to talk the whole time, although I am giving the majority of the messages. It's also because I am kind of an expert at this part of the job. Or I should say I am an expert at this part of the job. I've done it a long time. I've done it as a rep. I've done it as an assistant manager, and I've done it as a pilot sales manager, and I've done it as a branch manager and a district manager and a division coordinator. And if you want to jot something into the chat box, I think that'd be awesome. If you want to throw something in there, why do you think this is important for you to be here? Or what are you going to do to make this event the most, most worth it or fulfilling for you? And I know it's kind of short and it's very to the point, but I also didn't want to be, we could easily make this a 5, 6 hour meeting. I wanted to kind of condense it to the most important pieces for you that are going to really help you um, move quick. So whenever you have something, you can toss it into the chat box. I know some of you look like you're typing. And then I've just got a couple more self-reflection questions, and then we're going to dive into some of the dates, content, etc. Zoom has some updates. Make sure you throw it into the whole main chat thing like Gabe just did. I like it. Some effort, all aspects, some knowledge from Cole. If you are finished or if you're still typing, I did put my next couple of questions up here on the screen for you. And I think sometimes it's easy to work things backwards, right? So whenever I went into a push period, thanks, Lander. Whenever I went into a push period, and I've done lots of them. I've done SC2 pushes, I've done winter break pushes, I've done random weeks, whatever it is. I always felt like the mission was already accomplished typically before it even started because of how well I prepared for it. Does that make sense? So I wanted to go into a push period basically just being like, all I have to do is just like execute the plan, right? But it doesn't mean that that makes it easy. But I've typically always made sure that I hit my goal during pushes, my effort goal, right? My number of demos goal. And when that happens, I always hit my sales goal. But it was because I've always prepared really well for pushes. Maybe not my first SC2, and I'll share a story on that, But moving forward, I always learn the lesson, right? So thanks for those that shared. Um, the next question I have for you is when you look back at the push, right? So this is, fast forward, right? You're at the conference, you know, what types of images will give you the greatest sense of pride, meaning, and fulfillment? So basically you're fast forwarding a month into the future, a month and a few days, right? You're at the SC2 conference and you look back and you see a month that has had a ton of uh, lifted up things for you, transformation, tapped into your highest potential as a leader. What are some of the images that give you the greatest sense of pride, meaning, and fulfillment? For me, I remember I got to go up on stage, and there's like a legit stage at SC2. And I got to go up onto the stage. Jerry Azinger was actually right near me, and I'd never met her before at that point. Um, and I got to give my push report on stage in front of hundreds of people, which was kind of terrifying, but it was also exhilarating. And I got to share a little bit about my story during the push because I ended up getting tonsillitis halfway through, and I couldn't talk. I got sick, couldn't talk, and it sucked because I had a bunch of demos I had to cancel and reschedule, and it was like right in the middle of my push period, and I missed days. It would have been like 9 through 14 or 15, something, 14, something like that. It was like 4 or 5 days in total. And so all in all, I really only had like 12 days for my push instead of like 16 sales days or whatever that we normally have, just because I physically couldn't do anything. Um, and I ended up finishing the push really strong because I was so anxious to get back when I was sick. And I made sure, whether it was over a text message or whatever, that I just had a bunch of demos lined up my last 3 days. So I got to share that on stage that like I got sick and it was really discouraging. And I just didn't let that stop me from like wanting to hit my goal. And here I am. And I was like, and I'm just, giving a tip on stage, which is pretty cool. So, anyone want to share verbally? We probably have time for, two or three quick verbal shares. I'd rather not do the chat box for this. You can just unmute and go for it, by the way. So the question again was, what gives you the greatest sense of pride, meaning, and fulfillment at the end of the push when you're at the conference?
I guess I'll go first.
Thanks,
Well,
Steve.
what I really look forward to at the SC2 push is being able to stand on stage and discuss my accomplishments and share the hardships and adversity that I'll encounter along the way there. Because it nothing good comes from like doing stuff that's easy. It always comes from like doing the hard stuff, and I hope I'll get to share that this summer.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. And by the way, I don't, just to be transparent, I don't think you'll probably be able to share that on stage, but there will probably be stuff like this where you can share it. I think mine was a little unique of a situation, but I don't run the whole event, so I could be wrong. Um, who else would like to share? Would anyone else like to share?
I mean, I guess I can.
Sure.
Um, I think the greatest fulfillment of the whole SC2 push would be looking back at the amount of sales you've made, and how much you really pushed yourself to, like Gabe was saying, being able to be on stage, like really working hard to get up there, I would say.
Yeah, there's a saying that champions finish strong and there's no fatigue felt on the day of victory, right? So any reschedules, cancels, no sales, whatever, like I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff when I was at, when I was at the conference and I felt good about accomplishing my goal or whatever, right? So thanks for sharing that as well, Chris. Here's what this also can lead to as well, after the push, okay? So in this is an old story, okay? John Berghoff is a past Cutco rep that now runs a humongous business. I'm not going to go into it right now, but very successful guy. And his push period, he had 11 days. Okay. He had 11 days and he did 69 appointments, which is like what, 6 or 7 a day. Okay. He had 70 sales on 69 appointments. So what does that mean? He probably had a few no sales and he had a few phone orders. So it is possible to have more sales than you did demos in, a push period. And he sold $62,000 for the push period. So his average order was, 900 bucks or whatever that is, right? During his push, he sold over $20,000 of the Cutco on or after the 9 p.m. demo. So a third of his push came after 9 p.m. Okay. And then he sold $6,000 10 consecutive weeks after the push. So think basically all of August, all of September, and then, into October, he sold 6,000 plus as a full-time, I believe, as a full-time college student after the push period. Because when you sell 62 grand in 11 days, selling 6,000 over 7 days doesn't feel like as much. Does that make sense? So what he did was he really expanded his capacity during the push period. Okay. The best moments in life usually occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. I'm not going to try that name, but I like the quote. Okay. Mahali, I think is the first part. Okay. Let me give you a few examples. Okay. And some of these are examples I lived through when I was a rep. So that's why some of the dates will be a little older. So in 2011, it was a 16-day push. This year is an 18-day push. Okay. So this guy, Austin Meeker, he sold 10,000 the first week. The second week, he sold 10,000. Okay. And then on day 14 of his push period, he had $5,000 in cancellations. So he's at 20. He had 5,000 cancel. I don't know if I think it was a big order, right? I'd assume. And then Wednesday, the 15th, and Thursday, between those 2 days, he sold $16,000 to finish over $31,000 for his push period. So he sold 15 grand the first 14 days, and then the last 2 days sold $16,000 to hit his goal. Okay. Here was his keys to success. He sold 10 grand of his 30K on demos after 9 p.m. because you can see both spouses together. He also lived about 3 hours away from his local office. And he also closed bigger and did a lot of demos, or closed bigger. So he showed a lot of people the flatware and the cookware um, on his appointments. And he was an assistant manager too. Okay. So, what are the benefits of the alliance? You actually saw, for those of you that were on key staff, you saw a lot of this earlier. You're held to a higher standard. The key staff really turns into our alliance. It's more time with the management staff. You'll sell more. Your influence with your peer group You're invited to interview in July, August for our leadership program. It'll improve your resume in and outside of Vector. It's future management opportunities for our office because next summer we're going to have new assistants, new branches, and new district managers because we're building to 10 plus offices, 5 branches, 4 districts for those not in school, and then we'll have 30 plus assistant managers as well too. I genuinely don't care what someone sells during the push. What I do care about is that I see the effort from the start to the finish because I get to learn a lot about someone in their effort from the start to the finish. I was talking to Tony about this during his fast start a lot, and I was like, I don't care what you sell, right? I care that you hit your, demo number, or I get to learn more about you and what I can expect from you um, through your first 10 days on the job, right? And Cole is our, newest 10K fast starter, right? I can learn about someone very quickly when they go for something big, what I can count on them for in the future, right? So what's possible in 7 weeks? Well, this is a Girl Scout story that I'm going to share with you, okay? So the national average of Girl Scout boxes sold is 150 boxes, okay? Kate Francis in Oklahoma City in 2004, she sold 2004 boxes in 2011. Okay. You follow me? The next year, she sold 7,428 boxes in 2012. That's a lot of like she almost tripled it, or she more than tripled it, sorry. Almost quadrupled it. In 2013, she sold 12,428 boxes. This is the same period of time, right? The next year in 2014, she sold 18,107 boxes, broke a record set in the 80s. In 2015, she sold 21,477 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. And from an 11-year-old sixth grader, here are her 3 keys to selling Girl Scout cookies. Number one, I spend a lot of time on it. Number two, it's a lot of commitment. And number three, she was asking almost everyone that she met to buy Girl Scout cookies. Sound familiar? So our office, our division even is way up right now. And so I love this time of year because you get to kind of test what you're made of. You get a learning income experience. And as I mentioned earlier, great opportunities don't come often. We're also recruiting our 2025, 2026 class as well too. I'm going to finish my opening comments with just a few dates just to make sure you have them all down. Okay. This is also in the group me as well, and you've probably seen it several times, hopefully at this point. But next week, okay, um, we have our leadership number 2, and then right after the phone jam, we have our division summit on Monday the 14th from 12 to 3. Okay. Um, and then our lead up to it, the 2 weeks prior, we're gonna have a little sales contest, just like we had leading up to the SC2 division meeting. And so June 31st, which happens to be tomorrow, through Monday, July 13th, that's going to be our push period where we'll do a little bit of awards recognition at the division summit coming in as well too. Okay. I'll also do some recognition for the rep who has the most demos set as well too, because there'll be people at this event that have 15, 20, 25, maybe 30 plus demos lined up. Okay. So Tuesday, the 15th, is the first day of the push. It's going to be, for a lot of you, the most important week of your career. It's the momentum week for you. And I'm going to help you get prepped up for that. A couple of things that I would suggest you do. Number one is memorize your close. So if you're closing on the ultimate set, let's get you, making sure you have that thing memorized. If you're not closing on the ultimate set, let's teach you how to start closing on the ultimate set, or let's get you really strong with the first part and then get you closing on the ultimate set shortly thereafter that. Let's make sure that you have recommendations memorized, which Dylan's going to probably give you some tips on today. And then I'll give you some tips later on the goal setting as well too. And then you just want to like plan everything out. Okay. I know Lindley's going to talk about a lot of this stuff. So I don't want to take away too much from the message that we have coming right after this. But right now, the next 5, 6 days, you should use this as a lot of momentum, especially around the 4th of July and stuff as well too. So in the next couple weeks, get better at phoning, get better at your demo, get better at closing. And then I shared this in Key Staff 2 weeks ago, but you have the ability to order some of these extra things, right? So, get a pot so you can start selling the cookware. Get a couple pieces of the flatware so you can be like Chris and sell flatware on your demos. Any of the specialty pieces that you want to add to your collection, you can ask me about it individually, but they're all on Vector Connect as well too. Okay. And then next week, where you want to be at least 100 names and numbers coming to our meeting next Monday. Now, if you're already higher than that, great. I would love for everyone to be at 200 plus, by the way, but I want you to at least be at 100 plus by the next meeting. Okay. Leading up to that, your job at a minimum should just be, hey, get on the newsletter every single week. Over 7 days, we're talking about 3 orders. Just get on the newsletter. Get on the newsletter. Get on the newsletter. Most of you should be thinking a lot bigger than that. But leading up to it, get on the newsletter. Okay. I'm gonna skim over some of this because it's in the calendar that I'll go through later. Same thing with this one. And then the next thing we've talked about after the MVP number 2 is just the all-day phone jam, right? Which can be a lot of fun if you prepare the right way. It can also be really sucky if you don't. So I'm going to make sure that you prepare the right way. I'm going to give you all the tools that you need. But Sunday the 13th, you want to have like 9 to 9 blocked off in your schedule, almost like you're working a double shift at wherever you're, if you hypothetically, right? Um, and you're gonna arrive at 8:30. You're gonna want to have 200 names and numbers of people that like not like random numbers. Okay. You want to have some healthy snacks, a phone charger, laptop charger. We'll talk about more of this as we go. And then we're going to do a phone jam to kick things off from 9 to 2. That'll be like our phone jam part one. Okay. And then we'll take a break from 2 to 4:45 where it's like we're gonna all be together still. We're gonna like team bond, we're gonna have some fun. We'll get some food, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm gonna run a quick kickoff session for the second part of the day. And then we'll phone jam from 5 to 9. So in that day, you should set anywhere from 15 to 50 plus demos. Think about it logically, right? If you have 9 hours of phoning and you should be making 20 to 30 calls in an hour. That might seem like a lot for you right now, but when you prepare and you have the names and numbers, it's really not. It's kind of like making one phone call every 3 minutes. Maybe every minute or sorry, 2 to 3 minutes, right? And so 9 hours, if you average with your 200 names and numbers, it's 22 calls an hour. And then you can use your averages for this. So if it takes you 5 calls to book a demo, off of 200 names, you'll book 40 demos that day. If it takes you 6 or 7 calls, right, you'll book like 30 to 33 demos that day. And then if it takes you one in every 10, you'll book 20 plus demos that day. And again, these are new, fresh leads that we're going to come up with. Okay. So it should be easier when there's a connection or they already kind of know you're going to call or something like that. All right. And you'll go into a week with the most demos you've ever gone into, and you're going to be the best you've ever been at the job ever at that point. Okay. And then I'm going to go through this in the calendar later, but after the division summit on the 14th, we have the first day of the push. This should be a grand day, right? The next time you have a grand day, you'll have another one at least by Friday. Saturday will be a grand day, and then we'll have a father of all phone jams. We call the first one the mother, right? So we'll have a father of all phone jams at that, end of that week, kind of after those first 5 days of doing demos. And then you're gonna set up your second week on Sunday, and you're gonna be so much better, so much smoother. You're gonna have so many more leads that day as well, too, that you're gonna book up another 15 to 50 demos for the second week. So for a lot of people, the second week's even bigger than the first week. And then you have Monday, which is an auto grand day because you're going to have a bunch of demos from booking Sunday demos. Tuesday is an easy grand day. Even if you didn't have another one until Saturday, then you have your sixth grand day. And then we have the last phone jam, which we call the phone jam of the millennium. And then that sets up a really strong last 4 or 5 days for you where you could have a grand day probably every day here to finish the push period strong. And so you might sell more in the last 3 days than you sold in the first 13 days. You just saw that happen a second ago. Okay. So it's 18 days. It's really 16 actual sales days and then 2 all-day phone jams during the push where you just don't worry about doing demos on that Sunday. And then there's an all-day phone jam leading into the push that's not in the first 18 days. So if it sounds confusing, no problem. You're going to get a calendar with this, but I just wanted to lay it out there for you. And then what this sets up for you is that last Friday through Sunday, right before the conference, I'm going to be doing a lot of like one-on-one with some of you guys, confirming some Olean spots for some of you. Some of you will actually have Olean confirmed in your calendar prior to going to the SC2 conference, which will be really exciting. And then we're gonna have a bunch of fun at the conference. We're gonna learn a ton. And then it's gonna just create massive momentum for you when you come back, whether you go to school in 3 weeks before that or 2 weeks or the next week or whatever. It's gonna help you save a bunch of cash for the end of the summer. You can boost up your withholdings. Right now, again, we have 63 days left in the summer. So if you did 20 demos a week for the next 6 weeks, you'd sell another 30 plus $1,000 this summer. So for some of you, again, your income has not even started yet this summer. Okay. All right. I'm going to skim over a little bit of this, but, and we'll talk more about investing as time goes on as well, too. Okay. Last thing here, and then we'll get into this recorded message is, I'll just leave it like this, is, 40 plus demos is not a lot over 18 or over 16 days. Okay. So some of you will focus probably on 50, some of you will be 60, some of you will be 80. Jack Ryan, a few years ago, he did 103. You're going to hear Lindley give some tips on this and stuff like that as well too. But what it's going to help you do is it's going to help you to create good habits. It's going to help you stick to your schedule. It's going to test your attitude. It's going to test your knowledge, your skill set, right? You're going to be pushed a little bit when someone kind of poking you and they're like, what are you going to do about it? Right? And you get the opportunity to respond like a winner. Okay. What are some of the rewards? Again, there's the swag at 12.5. There's the Hardy Slicer at 15K. There's the 20K, 30K, and 40K rocks. Okay. You're setting up the best income of your life. There's a bunch of recognition in front of our division. I'm going to do a division night out on the town for the winners on our team that sell 15K plus for the push period, which will be fun as well too. Kind of like if you didn't hit it in your fast start, which Tony and I are doing his fast start dinner tomorrow. Cole, we got to make sure yours tabs and whatnot, but then we'll do yours. And then, you get to do something other people don't think that you can do. Okay. So thank you. Let's keep stepping up with field training, getting buddies onto the team, get on the newsletter, get a mentor, have a mentor. MMC means make more calls, do more demos. MMM means make more money. Okay. Create the next best 6 days to help start creating your push as well. Thank you so much. Leap, and Annette will appear. All right. Take 60 seconds, get a quick stretch in if you need to. I'm going to queue up this next audio or this next video. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can hear this when I try to mute myself, okay? Make sure you got some good notes ready. Again, Mike's going to give kind of the intro of Lindley, so I'm not going to take any more time on it.
$1,000 a cut go. So she didn't just sell pushes, right? But she's done well beyond that. What I can tell you about Lindley is it's been awesome to watch her.
Is the audio good? Loud enough? Okay.
Career here, right? She's such a giving person and takes her job so seriously because I think she had an amazing experience and she wants to make sure that it's amazing. And for those of you that work with Lindley, you know how awesome she is. We all love Lindley. Take it away, Lindley.
I'm so excited to talk to you guys about pushes. It's like, not a joke, my favorite thing. It's why I'm here. Like, I love pushes with every.
Give me one sec. It was kind of quiet on my end, so I want to make sure that you guys can fully hear everything.
Everything in me, and you guys are going to see that. If I say something too fast, ask your neighbor because they probably jotted it down. But there are three main factors to success to focus on when you're in your push. There are different actions that you can take, there are skills that you can improve on, and there are the different mindsets that you have. So I'm going to break down those three things today, starting with actions, because these are very, very doable, as in all of you can do them. They take absolutely zero skill. So if you're like, oh, I feel like I'm not that skilled, or I just started a few days ago, you can do all of these actions that I'm about to cover. Some of these are vector related, some of them are not vector related, just life related, and they're gonna help you anyways. So first off, I heard a few of you mentioning this, but it's really important to have a morning routine. Super duper important to have a morning routine, even when you're waking up early for Champs Club and Alliance. Even just something super simple you can do in the mornings or whenever you need a reset. A lot of this is going to be regurgitating what Jacob has taught me over the years, because Jacob's the one who's helped me with these pushes. But what Jacob would always say is seek water, seek sunlight, and seek movement. Whenever you need a reset, seek water, seek sunlight, seek movement. Whenever you're pushing, make sure you're still getting outside. Make sure you're getting your workouts in, taking care of yourself. I personally am an anti-morning person. I really hate mornings. So I try to keep my morning routine as brief as possible, including these three things. So going a walk around the block with water, I get water, sunlight, and movement. Look at that. So that blocks off all three of those. Similarly, motion creates emotion. There will be some really hard moments during the push. There will be some really challenging moments during the push. It might even have started yesterday for you. But your physiology dictates a lot of what you feel in those moments. The people in my office know this. If you're phoning and you're making phone calls like this, do you think you're going to book up a lot of demos? No. If you're phoning and you're taking up space, you're going to sound more confident on the phone. Mr. and Mrs. Jones will hear this from you. So emotion creates emotion. When you're feeling the character building aspect of pushes, do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups, do whatever is going to get, for me, because I didn't want to get out of my chair before my virtual demos, I would literally, like, my family can tell you this, I would literally sit there and I would just go, I need to change something. I was like, okay, I need to get some movement in. So something as simple as that, you guys weren't even the ones who were moving and you started smiling, right? Like, imagine how that's going to feel when you do that before your demos, just something to put a smile on your face. Another easy way to stay dialed in during your push is to journal, reflect, and practice gratitude. I heard Jacob say this all the time to the point where I was sick of it. You can't be grateful and stressed at the same time. You cannot be grateful and stressed at the same time. Your manager will probably journal, reflect, and practice gratitude with you every day at Alliance or Champs Club, but it's something you can and should do on your own. Could even be journaling at night. One of the things that we do in Chicago Division is the 3-2-1 exercise. Some of you might know it. It's 3 things or people who you're grateful for. So that's the 3. 2 is 2 outcomes for the day. Could be 2 action steps. Could be maybe tonight you're like, I want to book 10 demos today. One of your action steps could be, I want to make 30 phone calls, or whatever your outcome is for you. So 3 is things you're grateful for. 2 are outcomes for the day, and number 1 is send a text of gratitude, a text of awesomeness. Who here has ever felt good after doing something good for someone else? Great. Do that to reset yourself. Whenever you're feeling like, ugh, I am not as grateful as I want to be, or I'm more stressed than I want to be, give some positive energy to someone else, and you will feel it too. So again, these are push skills, but these are also life skills, because pushing has set me up for life. So I wanted to make sure to say this for you. Yeah, can't be grateful and stressed at the same time. Keep in mind, when I'm talking to you guys, all of my pushes, I was focused on doing 7 demos a day. So you might be hearing planned meals and be like, well, Lindley, I have time for breakfast. That's awesome. Some people, when I was going for big numbers, if you're going for big numbers, you might forget sometimes. So plan your meals, meal prep, even if you only are doing I say only, again, this is just because it's me, but even if you're only doing 4 demos a day, put lunch in there, put dinner in there. It's really important to like fuel yourself and be kind to your body because you can't do anything without it. Another thing, it's really, really important to schedule in things that you love and things that you want to do in non-money demo times. In non-money demo times. I've been in a relationship for 5 years. He's seen me go through 5 pushes, or 4 pushes for SC2. One of the ways that I've been able to be with my boyfriend for 5 years is I make time for him. So every SC2, he knows I'm gonna be crazy busy, and we have a weekly breakfast set up in my 9:30 a.m. demo slot. So set time aside to be with your loved ones, to do your workouts, to do things to fill your cup in non-money demo time. So if you're like, I don't know what the heck that means. So a money demo time, for those of you who don't know, is when husband and wife are together. So that's gonna be evenings on the weekdays and weekends. I never hung out with friends during a push on the weekends. This is me, these are my goals. You all have your own goals. I'm speaking from my personal experience. Just do important things for you in those non-money demo times. Yeah, breakfast, brunch, lunch with my parents, that was always fun. I always focused on being the first at the office for Alliance. It's such an easy way to get a win in the morning, except now that I'm telling all of you this, it might be a little bit of a race. But for me, it was such a great way to start my day with a win. To know, like, yeah, I got there before Jacob. That's awesome. And for me, it was a really good thing to be like, wow, I have already won something at the day and it's not even 7 a.m. So set yourself up for a win in the morning. And I mean, Jacob can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure one of the things that stood out to him, me being a manager candidate, was the fact that I was there first every morning. Being there early, does it take any skill? No, it takes planning. Does planning take any skill? No, it just takes sitting down and doing it. So that was one of the things I did, be first at the office in the morning. Another thing my team has heard a lot about, Facebook posts with your customers. Who here has had someone put up a Facebook post for you? There could be so many more hands up in the air. You guys are leaving CPO on the table. So Facebook posts with your customers. After you get recommendations, you do not do this before, after you get recommendations, you share with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. As you know, I'm in this really big contest. What a lot of my customers have been doing is been putting up Facebook posts for me to spread the word. Would you be open to doing something like that? So I was like, yeah, of course, I'd be happy to do that. You take a little selfie with them, you put it on their Facebook, and then you get a bunch of demos. It is super simple. Who here feels like they can do something like that? It's one additional question in your demos, right? This is what that question created for me. Bear with me, we're gonna do a little bit of reading on the screen. Who here called someone from their chicken list yesterday and their big all-day call day? Okay, incredible, I'm very proud of you. It's not easy, but keep doing it. I played ice hockey growing up forever, and my dad, sure is pumping her fist, and my dad found my sports rosters from when I was 8, and so I was calling through a list of hockey moms whose sons I hadn't seen since I was 8 years old. This is SC2 in 2021. And I called Tara Marsh. Tara Marsh is a hockey mom from that team, and I called her and she's like, Lindley, Shira, do you know her?
I called her yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, I already sold to her, good luck. Tara, I called her, she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. She's like, are you just calling through the roster right now? I was like, yeah. She's like, that's awesome. She's like, I would never do that, how can I help? So I booked up a demo with her, and after the demo, she put up this post. So today I spoke with a young woman I last saw playing squirt hockey with my sons Beck and Quinn, Lindley McCutcheon. She called out of the blue, asking if I could help her in her goal to earn money towards paying half her tuition at Bryn Mawr College outside of Philadelphia. Look at that goal sharing. See, she knew my reasons why. Would I sit in on a 20-minute Zoom and hear about Cutco knives? Honestly, at this point, I was already impressed enough. This girl is 18 years old and working old contacts like a pro. Of course, I could give her a few minutes of my time. My favorite sentence. There is a 0.0% chance that my boys would have had it in them to make the same call to her mom and dad. Anyhow, I will say that beyond being impressed by Lindley's confidence, drive, and organization, the girl knows something about knives. She's been doing this for a year and intends to keep it going through college. Huh, look at that. She gets credit for each presentation, regardless of whether you leave with a new potato peeler or not. So if you have a few minutes to give help to an ambitious young woman, please reach out to Lindley. This has 27 reactions and 22 comments. I booked 8 demos from this post being put up. I sold $7,000 on those 8 demos. And one of those demos, Rachel Barner, she's bought from me more than any other customer. She's bought from me 5 times. And she referred me to Kimberly Kroll, who bought a red homemaker to put me over $100,000 in personal sales. So this is not like, yes, I love it's not impressive. I made a phone call, right? This takes no skill. I want you guys to realize that. The only thing that I did was call through my chicken list repeatedly. This was not my first time I had called her. Like, call through your chicken list, ask for people to put up Facebook posts. It can open an unbelievable amount of doors for you. This boosted my confidence so much. Do you guys think that after I called Tara Marsh, I was like, damn, I can call anyone? Yes, exactly, right? It's gonna build your confidence. Jot down your questions, please. It's gonna build your confidence. So Facebook posts with your customers, call your chicken list, even people who you called yesterday, even people who you've texted twice. Hey, can I get your mom and dad's number? Ex-boyfriends, ask them for their parents' numbers. You never know what's gonna happen, right? Similarly, a big key for pushing in general is to create urgency. And that happens when you ask if you can follow up with them at the end of your push. I want everyone to jot this down. This is very serious. I mean it. You guys have all heard about Connor Olson, right? The guy who sold 71,000 in his SC2 push in 2016. Yeah, he sold, if I have these numbers right, he sold $29,000 in his last 3 days on 26 orders. And that happened because he used this line on his demos. This is at the end. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if I'm getting close to my goal in the last few days of my contest, yeah, take pictures, can I reach back out to see if there's anything on your wish list I can get you a great deal for? Oh, look at all these phones. Look at all these learners. Love it. So I'll repeat it. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if I'm getting close to my goal in the last few days of my contest, can I reach back out to see if there's anything on your wish list I can get you a great deal for? Do you guys think they're going to say yes to this? Yes or yes? Yes. Yes. Great. This is why you have time set aside in your schedule to make customer callbacks. Laura, for example, on our team, you guys will hear a little bit about her fast start in a second, but she was stressing about hitting 10K before midnight on that last day. Laura came to the office and was calling back all of her customers from the 9 previous days of sales. So if you're like, oh, I've only been here for like 2 weeks, who could I call back? Laura called back people who she had seen 2 days before, and she hit 10K and had a baller dinner. So schedule those customer callbacks. Other actions that you can take, and then we'll get to skills, we'll get to mindset, but I want to spend a lot of time on actions because, again, these take absolutely zero talent. Oh yes, be the group chat leader. Be active in your group me. Inspire others around you with your sales, with recommendations, with different things that you've learned. Similarly, be the phone jam leader. Who in here knows who their top phoner was in their office yesterday? Great. Be that person, right? As wonderful as it is to be the phone jam leader, what phone jam leaders do is they make a lot of phone calls. Like, oh, I wasn't the phone jam leader, but I probably could have made 20 more calls. Make the 20 more calls next time, right? You guys even heard that. Gianna, that's awesome that you booked 33 demos, wherever you are. And had you made calls till 9:30, maybe you would have beat my record of 33. You never know. So make as many calls as you can. Be the phone jam leader. Focus on what you can control, which is how many phone calls you can make. Miguel Rojas yesterday, if Vector Impact was correct, he made 306 phone calls. Crushed my record. That's awesome. Miggy, that's incredible. That takes no talent. It's making phone calls, right? Focus on what you can control, which is calls you can make. For those of you who are in Chicago Division, you hear this all the time, and it's even on the screen, so I spoiled it for you. When you're doing presentations, how many phone calls should you make before the demo? 5. Great. How many should you make after? 5. And the reason why is because that will replace the demo that you just did. How awesome, for those of you who have, for however many demos you have, so let's say you're Gianna, you have 33 demos going into week 1 of the push. When you make 5 phone calls before and after every demo, you're going to book up at least 1 more, and then you're going to go into next week with 33 demos booked up. Is 5 phone calls a lot of phone calls? No. How many minutes does 5 phone calls take? 10 minutes. Exactly. So everyone can do 5 phone calls before and after. Even if you're running late to a demo, don't break the habit. Make 5 phone calls before and after. Yeah, do more than you think you can. Who in here was like, there is no way I could ever make 50 phone calls in a day, and then you made like 100, 150, 200 yesterday? Yeah, that's awesome. Now when you were phoning this morning and your manager was like, oh, make 30 phone calls, you're like, 30, that's it? That's easy. That's how I feel when it comes to doing demos in a day. I have done 9 demos in a day before. When I do 9 demos in a day, do you think that 5 sounds like a lot to me? No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. 5 demos, that's so much free time. Are you kidding? It is. That's my mindset. The reason that's my mindset is because I did more than I thought I could. Now, I didn't have the fast start that I wanted. I didn't do a ton of demos. I did a decent amount of demos in my fast start. I did 42, but that's 4 a day. So it's like, the reason I'm able to think this way is because I've done a lot of presentations in a day. And Jacob can also confirm this. When I had 7 demos in a day, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is 7. How the heck could I do 7 in a day? And then I'd have a 3K a day and be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. So do a lot of demos in a day. Do more than you think you can. And account for reschedules as well, because reschedules are going to happen. I booked 100 demos last SC2. I completed 73. That means I had 27 rescheduled. I did not sit on my hands and do nothing. Can anyone guess what I did when a demo rescheduled? Made phone calls. You guys are so smart. Yes, I made phone calls. You were going to work anyways. So get on the phones, and instead of doing 1 demo, book up 5. Right? So be a solution finder is in that same vein. Be a solution finder. That's something that we hear in my office. It's something I'll tell everyone. Things are going to go wrong in the push. Things are going to feel like stuff is caught on fire. Like, you need to be a solution finder in the best way that you can. That is one of the most incredible things you can put on your resume to share in an interview, to say, yeah, I had X, Y, and Z go wrong, and this is what I did about it. Be a solution finder. That is what people look for. That's not something that's taught, that's something that's trained. So train yourself to be a solution finder. And then last thing I wanted to say in regards to actions, turn your car, or your house if you're doing virtuals, into a learning library. Turn your car or your house into a learning library. I am not going to read all of these because you guys can read, but I have 2 different slides on some of my favorite talks. Closing Power by Hal Elrod. It is one of the easiest for beginners. It is like a 22-minute talk that's unbelievable. Like, these are incredible. Increase your average order, upsell, and upgrade. I didn't remember the name of this, but I texted Jacob a few days ago, and I was like, hey, what was that talk that really made me increase my average order with the guy who was like super energetic? It's like, that was Aaron Luden. Like, sounds good. Tarek's nodding too. That was the first video that was shown at his first Champs Club. So, increase your average order, upsell, and upgrade by Aaron Luden. And I have a second slide. You're so welcome. Here are some more things you can listen to. Prospecting into $1 million homes. And then if you're like, I don't know how to get into Vector Connect, 1, please ask your manager. 2, here are also other areas where you can learn and grow and improve. The Changing Lives, Selling Knives podcast, like Mike mentioned. I listen to it almost every morning in the office on the way to the car. Or on the way to the office. You guys know what I was saying. But it's a really great way to like get in the right headspace. Alex Funk's YouTube channel. Connor's nodding. It's incredible. That's all I need to say. And then Colleen Dolan has an insane goal sharing video. It's one of my favorites. If you're like, I want to learn how to show my goals harder, please ask your manager for that video. Oh yeah, look I have more. Wow, these are not shocking. Make a lot of phone calls, ask a lot of questions. Can you guys do that? Great. Awesome. And have reasons why. Have reasons why. For me, I'm a firm believer in 50 reasons why, because that's what Jacob would have me do. 10 works too. I don't care as long as they're strong enough. Right? So you could have 3 reasons why. As long as they're reasons why they're going to help you get out of bed in the morning, as long as they're going to help you get through a day of a bunch of reschedules or a bunch of no-shows or a bad phone jam, in quotes, because that means the next one's going to be awesome. Just have reasons why to get you through it. For me, some of mine that I shared with my customers, I was paying for half my tuition in college. I went to an expensive school. It was great education, it was expensive. So I shared that with my customers. I really wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted to get into management, etc., etc., etc. If you haven't done this, it does not take a long time. Just come up with some reasons why before tomorrow. So those are all of our actions. You guys feel like you can do that? Does that take any skill at all?
No.
None. Incredible. I love this call and response. You guys are so great. But I now want to talk about 6 different skills that you can have down, or different sections of your manual you really want to have down and implement. Before talking about these, you have to have your manual down to begin with. I'm not saying memorize, but be comfortable with your manual, be comfortable with what is already in the manual. These are some things to highlight and to help enhance your presentation, but are also not super duper complicated. So number one, share your goals. Share your goals. I just mentioned it. To be clear, nobody will ever buy Cutco just to support you. These are not Girl Scout cookies. No one will buy Cutco to support you. However, people will buy Cutco today and from you because of the goals that you're sharing. So that is what helps create urgency. Share your goals. For here, these are some of my examples. Again, tuition, taking my parents out to a nice dinner before college. It was super sweet when I got to do that. I want to travel to 100 countries, meet new people, earn a scholarship, earn a promotion, etc. Share these things with your customers. They care about you, or get them to care about you. That's what rapport building's for, right? So share this with your customers. Share these goals. Whatever your goals are, as long as they're important to you and actually are important to you, your customers will feel it. And then know your names and uses. I told you these were simple, right? Know your names and uses. This job is super fun when you're just Mr. and Mrs. Jones kitchen consultant. It's really fun when you're able to just help them get great, awesome products for their kitchen. And that happens when you know your stuff. So you want to know what the pieces are used for. For me, I was like, I want to know at least 3 jobs that every knife can do. Maybe you're sitting here and you're like, I don't know what the gut hook does. That's okay, I didn't. What you can do, you go to the Cutco Orders app, you click the little more info button, and it'll give you a little paragraph that you can even read to your customer if they ask you a question. And they're like, you can be honest with them. Don't lie and come up with something, right? That's not going to help you or the customer. Just 1, know it in advance. 2, use the app to your advantage, right? They know that most of you are new. They know that this is something that you guys are reading a script for. You don't have to pretend you're not reading a script. But know what your names and uses, because this just makes everything, it's just so much easier. So be the kitchen consultant, be the knife expert. That's when it really gets fun. That's when it really gets interactive. Along those same lines, for those of you who have been to SC2 leadership, or if you were at SC1, you've heard about this a lot. I'm going to repeat it because it is important. Cooking rapport. Cooking rapport is super important. Cooking rapport is different for everyone. These are just the questions that I ask for my customer. So I always ask these questions before I get into names and uses. So that's before page 6, right? You guys can picture where I'm talking about. It's after forever guarantee, before names and uses. Okay, incredible. So the questions that I ask, I love this one. I don't hear a lot of people asking this one. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who does most of the cooking? And like, is it a 50-50 split? Is it 70-30? 99-1? Whenever it's 99-1, I'm like, Mr. Jones, because it's always Mr. Jones. I'm like, Mr. Jones, what's that 1%? He's like, popcorn. Very good, sir. You're really contributing. But this way you know who you're going to be talking to, and you still want to talk to both of them. It just helps you know who does the cooking. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, do you guys typically make food 1 to 3 times a week? 3 to 5? 4 to 7? Notice I said, do you typically make food? When someone's making a sandwich, they're not cooking a sandwich, right? But are they still using knives? Yes. So, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, how often do you make food? 1 to 3 times a week? 3 to 5? 4 to 7? When they say 1 to 3, I'm thinking homemaker. When they say 3 to 5, I'm thinking signature. When they say 4 to 7, I'm thinking ultimate. Because if someone cooks 4 to 7 times a week, the homemaker is too small. Like, I need you to understand that. If someone is cooking 4 to 7 times a week, the homemaker is teeny, teeny, tiny. That's when they need to get a signature or an ultimate. Then this is, I know this because I'm a kitchen consultant. That's my job. I help people with their kitchen stuff. In regards to that also, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, what kind of veggies do you like to have? If they say, oh, we eat everything, get specific. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you eat everything? Okay, let me list off a few things. Do you guys do like carrots, celery, onions, sometimes every once in a while? Okay, perfect. Do you sometimes every once in a while do the hard stuff? Potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash. Oh, potatoes and squash, not so much regular potatoes. Mrs. Jones, what's wrong with you? And you just ask these questions, help expand their mindset. This is helping them realize, like, holy crap, I actually cook a lot. Right, so if they say everything, get to know it. If they say nothing, give them thought joggers, the same way you do for referrals. Same thing with fruits, same things with meats. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, what are your go-to meals? What are you making all the time? That's gonna help you. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, what are some things that are more annoying or difficult for you to cut, or that you just really don't like cutting? If they say nothing, my knives are perfect. I literally say to them, like, okay, awesome, let me jot down knife ninja, and then they laugh. Because no one ever has everything perfect. This helps them realize, cooking rapport helps them realize how many foods they actually use in their eating habits, and it gets them to say yes to every piece in the set before they see it. So this eliminates the it's too many pieces, because if Mr. and Mrs. Jones have strawberries, tomatoes, if they make sandwiches and cut pineapple, those are just 4 pieces already in the homemaker set they will use. So this helps eliminate that it's too many pieces because they just told you they would use every piece. This also helps you recommend pieces when you're building their like list and they're interacting and engaging during the demo. It's not a presentation, it's a conversation. This helps it be a conversation. Also, you want to implement social proof as much as you can. For those of you who've seen like Tarek's collage or Jacob's collage, have selfies with your customers in your Blue Book. Have a filled out sponsorship page. Mention people that they know as much as you can. Mia Vulamandis on our team, she phrased it the most perfect way. I was explaining social proof to her and she's like, oh, so just like everything, people just like to follow the trend. Like, exactly. That is what social proof is. So Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I hope you like me and come out to tell some friends about me, just like how Sally and Bob Smith told me about you. Smile. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this homemaker set, this is a set that Sally and Bob just got. And then you keep going, right? Because people want to be like their friends. People want to be like people who are like them. So implement social proof. Get the free set closed down. I already talked about this at SC2 Leadership Volume 1, so I'm not going to talk about it. But the idea is you start higher, end higher, you sell bigger sets. And then, oopsies, and then close with confidence. Close with confidence. What does that look like? Say the prices with confidence. Know that anyone can afford $12 a day for the homemaker set if they want to. To put in perspective for you, this is the only time I've used my math degree much this summer. $358, which is what the homemaker set is with tax on a 5K or 1613 or whatever number you want to use. $358 split up over 50 years, so homemaker set split up over 50 years is 2 cents a day. It's 2 cents a day. For some perspective, that's like if Mr. and Mrs. Jones lose 2 quarters and a dime every month. I need you to understand that. That's what a homemaker set is over 50 years. It's if they, pull their phone out of their pocket, 2 quarters and a dime fall out of their pocket. That's what a homemaker set is over 50 years. Have you guys ever lost 60 cents and not noticed? Yeah, exactly. Now imagine you get a knife set along with it. That should be your perspective. Say the prices with confidence. And don't prejudge because you never know who's going to buy. So close with confidence. The reason that you guys are listening to me here is because I'm confident, right? So close with confidence and have Mr. and Mrs. Jones know that you believe in Cutco and you believe in the price. They could make, the homemaker set should be $5,000. It should be. There's no reason that we should be any less expensive than Shun besides the fact that it's direct selling, right? So be confident with the price and the customers will feel it. So those are skills. Again, implement some, implement all. If you're like, I don't even know pages 1 through 12 in my normal manual, then don't implement any, right? You want to master the fundamentals first. These are just things I've done that have really helped. And then the last part about pushes is all about mindset. It's all about mindset. I've made sure to include all of my favorite push phrases in here. So if you're into inspirational quotes or if you're someone where it's like, hearing something repeatedly is really going to help me get through it, please perk your ears up. The last part of pushes is all about mindset. There are going to be very hard days and you might want to quit at some points. You might have even wanted to quit yesterday. Like my first all-day call day was brutal, right? But you might want to quit at some point. In my first SC2, some of you have heard this, in my first SC2, I was coming out of a fast start, not proud of these things. I was coming out of a fast start. I did 42 presentations and sold $6,000. Didn't all your managers say, oh, well, you do 40 appointments, you'll sell 10K? Isn't that what you're all thinking? Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was not going into my SC2 with confidence, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna trust the process. I trusted the process, and then my first 3 days, I had 19 appointments scheduled. 13 of them happened, which means that 6 rescheduled. I sold on 4 of the 13 for 400 CPO. It was terrible. I wanted to quit so badly. I called him in tears multiple times a day throughout that. It sucked. Like if you're like, oh, well, I made a lot of phone calls, and imagine going from 42 demos in your fast start to only sell 6K, and then 19 appointments scheduled to, I think I sold a peeler on the first day. No, it was a cheese knife. Cheese knife on the first day, peeler on the second day. That was my first 2 days of the push. How do you guys think I was feeling? Terrible. I was feeling horrible. That is one of the lowest points I've had in this job. But what Jacob kept telling me is that I was going to have 5 character building days, 5 average days, and 5 great days. And I was like, there's no way that's true. It's like, you just have to trust me. 5 character building days, 5 average days, 5 great days. And so I focused on the process, I trusted Jacob, I made a crap ton of phone calls to make up for all those demos that didn't go how I had hoped. And like I said, I sold 400 in my first 3 days, and then I sold 10,494 in my last 3 days. So I literally sold 26, again, math major, I sold 26 times more in my last 3 days than in my first 3 days. So if your first 3 days aren't going well, think about that number, multiply it by 26, that could be what you sell in your last 3 days. It won't be what you sell in your last 3 days if you give up. And it won't be what you sell in your last 3 days if you don't make the phone calls, if you don't call your manager, if you don't trust the process. So I want you all to understand, I don't care how your phone jam went yesterday. I don't necessarily care how your phone jam goes tomorrow. What I care is that you guys push through the entire push. It's called a push, right? It's not meant to be easy. That's the whole point. So push through, because I wanted to quit. Your parents might even tell you to quit. Your parents might tell you to get a normal job, right? But what I'm going to tell you now is what Mike told you earlier. Decide now what you're going to do. I want you all to decide now what you're going to do. I thought of this, Mike, when you were talking before. One of the phrases that got me through my first SC2 is that 99% is hard. Going 100% is easy. Like when you are dialed in, as I am now, as I am in my pushes, when you are dialed in, everything is easy because you're like, this is what I'm focusing on. Obviously, eat, breathe, sleep, spend time with family, but I was focused on crushing my goals. So you want to decide now what you're going to do. You do not want to decide in those low moments, because making decisions at a low point is never, ever good. But even if your first few days don't go how you want, or your first week, push through until the end. And again, you might be thinking, oh, well, Lindley's talking about 2020. Well, let me tell you, in 2024, in January of this year, my Cabo push was not going how I wanted. It was not going how I wanted at all. I had been booking up a bunch of demos. It's the end of Monday night, so I had gone through my first week of the push, and I was only at 5K when I was hoping for a 10K week. I was not feeling great. I went into my 9:30 p.m. on a Monday night demo. For those of you who think 9:30 is late, it's not. I've done 11:30 p.m. and a midnight demo, think bigger. But I went, I mean it. I'm like, I was going into a 9:30 p.m. demo on a Monday night. I was like, I don't know much about them. They're like nurses in Jefferson Park. It's like, I don't know what this is gonna be like. It was an ulti with steak knives. I had an 8K week. When I had gone into my 9:30 being like, oh, I only had a 5K week. At an 8K week, I was at 50%. I made $1,500 on that demo. That was sick, right? So hit your promotion levels, but also go in, like, I want you all to be open-minded and know that the push is not over until it's over. And I'll probably say that again because it's probably in my notes, but the push is not over until it's over. If the push were over before it was over, then we tell you to stop making calls. We tell you to stop doing demos, right? Has your manager ever told you, oh no, you're not gonna hit your goal? Stop working. No, because we believe in you and we believe in the process, and you have to do that too. Look, it says it right there. Push isn't over till it's over. I knew it. So along those same lines, have the memory of a goldfish. I'm gonna coin Tarek for this because he's bummed he doesn't always get credit. But like Tarek says, you have to have the memory of a goldfish. A goldfish's memory lasts 3 seconds. So whether you have a great demo or a tougher demo, I don't care. It's important that you all keep your heads on straight, stay focused, and be present for the customers in front of you, because they are taking time out of their day to listen to you and help with their goals. So they deserve the best and most dialed in version of you. They don't care if you sold on your last demo. They don't care if you had a no sale, no reps. They actually don't care at all. They just want the best experience with you. So you should give that to your customers. So again, keep your focus forward. And every time, this is one of my big keys to pushing with your mindset. Every time you experience adversity, be grateful for it. Like every time I face a challenge in Vector, this is even now in management, when I face a challenge in Vector, I just keep in mind like how awesome that is going to make my success story. Like that is what I keep in mind, is like, wow, this is really tough right now. Can't wait for when I'm crushing it. And then I can tell people, yeah, this is what I went through. That's how I feel about my SC2 push. Like when I went into my SC2 push in 2020, I was like, man, I really want to be who they're all talking about. I remember I was hearing Greg Strine talk all about Sean Aceto and all of those people whose stories he has over and over. I was like, I want to be one of those people. And that wouldn't have happened had I given up in my first 3 days, which I very much could have, and I'm sure other people did. And I didn't, and I'm here because of it. If I had given up in those first 3 days, I very much would not be with Vector. I would not have been here throughout college. I would not be here now. And that was because I pushed through my first 3 days. So keep pushing. Think about how awesome it's going to be in the end. Laura, I mentioned her fast start earlier. Laura Obenberger was at 3,500 going into day 7 of her fast start. And she remembers this. I just kept telling her, I was like, this is going to make an awesome story for when you tell reps one day. It's like, this is going to be an awesome story that you can tell people. And she hit 10K at 11 p.m. in her last night. And that would not have happened if she had given up at 10:45 or 10:30 or 10 p.m. or the morning of day 7. She didn't give up, she hit 10K. And it's like, I want you guys to take away, and Laura's been here for less than a month, right? And that's something that, like, she listened to me, she trusted me. She's awesome too, which is a big part of it. But like, keep pushing until the end. So trust the process, be grateful for adversity. Keep in mind, oh, I love this one too, you guys are getting all the goods. Keep in mind that this is not a 17-day push. This is really not a 17-day push. It is 17 consecutive 1-day pushes. So it is 17 consecutive 1-day pushes. Go all out every day of the push because you do not want to have any regrets. You guys saw my SC2 numbers earlier, which I'm really proud of. But the one I'm most proud of is my 15K push from 2022. That was the hardest push I ever did. It was super challenging. Oh, it was really hard. You guys can hear it now. But I'm proud because I did like everything. I literally did everything I could have. I completed 81 appointments. It was the most appointments I had ever done. I did an 11:30 p.m. and a midnight demo. Mike, I don't know if you know this. I stayed at my friend's house for 3 weeks because she lived closer to the office than I did. My house was an hour and a half away from the office, and I was like, I want to be first at Alliance every morning. I was like, I really want to be first at Alliance every morning, so I stayed at my friend's house for 2.5 weeks because she lived closer to the office. That's how committed to my goals I was. I'm not saying you need to be that committed to your goals. I am saying if you want to be giving this talk next year, you do need to be that committed to your goals. So that's what it was for me. I have no regrets leaving that push because I maximized every second. And even though that was my lowest selling push, I worked the hardest in that one and I have no regrets. You might also be hearing all of these numbers of demos I did. You might be thinking, holy cow, this woman is crazy. That is so many demos. And I promise, first of all, your goals are your goals. I had my goals, they were big. So whatever your goals are, just commit to them. But no fatigue is felt on the day of victory. Like, when I look back at my pushes, I don't think of, oh wow, I worked so hard, or God, I was up so early, I didn't get to watch the Netflix episode that I wanted, or whatever else you're worried about right now. I think about the feeling of being the last 2 people standing on stage last year. That was awesome. That was worth all 4 of my pushes combined. Like, the feeling of standing on stage and what I had sold was awesome. And knowing that I had worked my butt off for 17 days and grew a ton, that's what meant the most. Because it's not about what you sell. If it were, I'd be the most proud of my 28K push, but I'm most proud of my 15K push. It's not about what you sell, it's all about who you become in the process. So SC2, why I'm so passionate about it, is because it's been a time of unbelievable challenge and growth. It is by far my favorite time to be a part of this company because the energy is palpable, the growth is exponential, and the community building and competitive nature of the company really shines through, and it's hard. Because at the end of the day, pushing is a challenge. It's hard, but you know what else is hard? Being at SC2 and having regrets. Being broke is hard, right? Not growing is hard. Every path has its ups and downs. So choose your hard, please do, because pushing is hard, but so is everything else. So you might as well pick a hard that's gonna help you grow, that's gonna change you for 4+ years like it did for me. And I always think about this quote I got from Quentin Israelson. For those of you who know him, he's awesome. But he always says, I would rather do now what others won't, so that I can do later what others can't. So choose your hard. I am so freaking excited for you guys to experience SC2, all of the wonderful things that come with it, and I cannot wait to see who's left standing on stage. Woo!
Awesome. I love it. Drop what your biggest, or maybe circle or drop what your biggest nugget was in the chat from that message. Too much to unpack right now, so it's kind of a great time to take a break. Let's try to start our next section up at 3:35. So take a 12-minute break. We'll try start our next one at 3:35. See you then. I'm looking at these takeaways from some of you. I love it. Using the chat. Memory of a goldfish. Character building days. Average great days. Kitchen consultant. It's a great one, Gabe. Lindley might not have been the most skilled at selling, but she worked harder. That's why she was so successful. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, feel free to throw something in the chat if you didn't have a chance yet. I am gonna want to keep rocking here because we have such a short kind of meeting and a lot of info that we want to get through. So hopefully you got some good stuff from that kind of first 90 minutes or so, packed full with push mindset stuff, some dates, opening comments. Here's what we got left. We've got Dylan on the app for recommendations. And I remember teaching Dylan this on his like sixth day on the job or something like that. And then I was sitting in this exact same spot actually, and then he immediately took advantage of it. And then like at the next team meeting was the guy like already teaching people. He was still in his fast start, like how to do this. And the guy, has averaged, I don't want to misspeak, but I want to say 10 probably plus at least, maybe closer to 15 each demo, the entire spring campaign as well too. Immediately following that, I'm going to go through the fuel to your business, some goal stuff, and then the push schedule will wrap things up. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Dylan.
Alrighty, thank you. Is my audio good enough? The music's kind of louder than I thought. Am I good? I can get a thumbs up. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, so I actually counted up all my recs and like the amount of demos that I did using the app with recommendations, and my average was about 12. And that was, I could have done so many more demos. Um, so I think it would have even been higher. And I've taught it so much that I think it would be definitely higher now. What I love about the app is that it's the same process overall, but it's a little bit more convenient. It can be. It can be a little bit quicker, and it just goes straight into your app. So sometimes it can be more efficient as well. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and then I am going to link in the chat. There we go. All right. Most of you on here have already done recommendations with me through the app. And I think just a couple of you, maybe Cole and Araya, I don't think I've taught you both yet how to use the app. So most of you, this will be just kind of the same information, maybe touch up on a few extra things. But for a couple, yeah, it's just brand new stuff. So this is the script that I just put in the chat. That's yours. I recommend printing it off. And this is my kind of updated script. I don't think any of you have seen the updated version yet, but pretty much this first page is before you actually even ask for any recommendations. So you can kind of follow along with me just on my screen. If you can see my screen, okay, just follow along there. You don't have to worry about your version of it yet. But at the top here, where it says after building rapport, that's like literally at the beginning of your demo. And you just say that line. Just so you know, Miss Jones, I'll lay out my 3 guarantees on how the presentation will go. First, I'm going to make you smile and make your day. All right. Then she'll always like smile or something. Second is I'll present all of our different products and I'll show you everything we got. And then lastly is I'll ask for referrals. Okay. You say that before you even get to any of the demo. And that way it just kind of plants the seed. They're already thinking like, okay, referrals it is at the end. So they're already thinking that. Then which is after goal sharing, this is obviously right after your goal sharing. Okay. Hey, Mrs. Jones, my goal for this presentation is that you spend $10,000 on Cutco. I mean, if you want to, I'll help you out with that. Haha. But my biggest goal again is that you have enough fun over the next 45 minutes or so that you're willing to introduce me to a couple of your friends so I can get my goal of, whatever it is, 20 demos by the end of the week, or 70 demos by the end of my push, whatever it might be. Okay. Because again, I only know so many people, and just how, this is the really important line, just how, my Aunt Sally recommended you, or just how my neighbor Joe recommended you. It's a superpower line. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll go ahead and have you download an app. Makes it so easy, and there's 3 parts to it. The first part is just putting in my information so the company actually knows I'm doing my job and I can, get paid for this presentation. The second part is just a couple of questions about the presentation, and it's all anonymous, so you can be completely honest. And then the third part is just recommendations. Again, they make it super easy. I'll have you download an app and you can actually connect it right to your contacts. From there on, you can click on anyone and everyone who might be willing to listen to my presentation. Okay, I'll explain a little bit more at the end, but just wanted to let you know right now in case any names pop in your head throughout the whole demo. Okay, so at this point in your demo, this is like before you actually start talking about Cutco. You've already mentioned Rex, I want to say 3 times by now. That's the good part about it. And you want to constantly keep talking about recommendations throughout your whole demo. I know Lindley talked a little bit about social proof, which is one of my keys to getting recommendations is social proof. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Then when it says on Peeler's slide, it says, and everyone who sits down with, this is kind of already in your script, but it's just a different way to say it. Everyone who sits down with me, Ms. Jones, gets a free peeler, but I'll talk about that later. Here's where we get the idea for Cutco. And that's where you go to, the disadvantages of jump maps. So right after the peeler video, I always say, everybody who sits down with me gets a free peeler. Not just like my last demo got a free peeler. It's everyone who sits down with me gets a free peeler. And then at the end, at this part, which says end of demo, that's when you're like, okay, well, and that's part I promised, Mrs. Jones. Do you remember at the beginning of the demo when I told you that every one of my customers gets a free peeler? And at this point, if they got Cutco, great. They get an extra piece right on the spot. If they didn't get Cutco, great. They can still get started on Cutco. Okay. This is probably the most important part for me, and also my favorite by far. Mrs. Jones, again, I get paid every time I show Cutco, but I can only show Cutco to people I've been personally recommended to. So do you use Apple or Android? Great. Go ahead to your app store real quick and download my Cutco rep. And then it'll be a little hard since we are on Zoom for me to actually be able to show this. I can try my best. The My Cutco rep, just literally, it says My Cutco rep. You want to like enlarge my screen. So they download that. The first screen, Mrs. Jones, asks for my rep number. Do you see that on your screen? Okay, perfect. Then my rep number is, you have to memorize your rep number for this point or just have it written down. They enter your rep number. Then they'll enter the meeting code. Okay, the meeting code is next to every prospect that you have booked a demo with. So for example, this person, I already booked a demo with them, did the demo with them. Your meeting code will always, if you click on their name, it's always right here. That's probably backwards, but the meeting code is just 4 digits. It's super easy to find. If you need help finding that, I'll help you later. But did they enter the meeting code? Now they'll just ask a couple questions. Again, they're anonymous, so you can be 100% honest with it. After that, my bio page will pop up. It has a little picture of me looking sharp. I just like stare at them. Then it has a little bit about me. You see it? Great. If you want to go ahead and click that share button at the bottom, your contacts will show up. And then usually they get like they like back away a little bit because they get like freaked out that all their contacts will be shared. This is where I usually tell them, no, don't worry. We don't have any access to your contacts or the company. Just pull them up in the app. Then you can go through and select everybody. Is it showing up for you? Great. Okay, here's where you want to click the first 200 to 500 people on your list. Totally broken. All right, it's the same line that you already use. Anyone and everyone who might be willing to listen to my presentation. Okay, then they're just going to start going through. You'll just scroll through their contacts, and this is where you just want to talk to them and just give them those thought joggers, which are already in your script on the page 14 of recommendations. You're giving them those thought joggers, okay? And they're just literally scrolling through while you're talking about it. Like, you're just like, okay, you got any plans this weekend, Miss Jones? She's like looking at her phone and going through, oh, you're going bowling? Cool. All right. What else are you doing? You're just talking to them. So that way they're just like mindlessly going through and just clicking on everybody. And it makes it a lot easier that way. It helps with saving some time as well. But after they select all their contacts right here, great. Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Now you can go ahead and click that share button once you've finished. And then you can click the view shared button at the top right of your screen. That will just show everyone that you shared with me. And then if you want to click on that, on the right of all their names, it says introduce. And if you click that introduce button, it'll actually pre-format a heads up text. That way you can send it to all those people. And then this is so where it says, if you can go ahead and send those real quick, this was the line that I wasn't doing when I first started with the app. But then when I started doing this, you guys, I started getting way more and better results on the phone as well. So this line right here, if you can go ahead and send those real quick, that'd be great. It just lets them know who I am and what I'm doing. That way they can expect a call from me. If they say they're not interested, no worries, take them off my list and I won't bug them anymore. But what this does is it sends a pre-formatted text like it says. And I don't know what specifically the text is, but it just lets them know what you're doing, you know, who you are and how you know the person. And then it says, just expect a call from them at some point. Some people, it also puts you in a three-way text. It says that message in a three-way text with you and the person and the customer. Which I think is pretty cool. So you can actually go through and see who responds, who says they're not interested. Some people, I've had some people just say, we're not interested. Don't call me again. Well, whatever. Okay. Then that's how I know, okay, I'll just take them off. Some people are like, great, looking forward to it, which are like the people I call first, 100%. Some people just don't respond, which is okay. You can still call them. But this feature is incredible. It helps so much when it comes to phoning. I got a way better response rate. So when I first started with Rex, I was probably getting like one demo booked out of, I don't know, 5 is like the average, 5 or 6 calls. When I started doing this in the app, I was probably getting, I want to say, 1 out of 3 or 4. So it was a little bit better just because people are already expecting a call, which I really appreciated and I liked. So that line is big. So with Rex, there's really 5 things that I always put together that Rex kind of comes down to. First thing is always have a good demo. Always have a good demo. And what I mean by that is not like you sell them an ultimate on every demo. I simply just mean be fun. Okay, connect with Mrs. Jones and Mr. Jones, good. Make them laugh, make some jokes. All right. I had a good conversation with Gabe and Tony the other day. And when you can make those corny jokes, like with the cheese knife, the spatula, whatever it is, and they laugh, always a good sign. It means that they're having fun. When your customer's having fun and you're having fun, that's the most ideal case scenario in a demo. All right. Because that builds trust. It, builds more they're more comfortable with you at that point. So that way, when you get to recommendations, they already trust you. They feel like they know you already so much better, even though it's only been like an hour or whatever it is. And then they're just going to be like, okay, great. Here's, however many people. Second thing I have is confidence. And I'll put all these in the chat after this, but confidence is second. Okay. You hear it all the time. If you're nervous, it's like asking for the order. If you're nervous while asking for Rex, they're going to be nervous too. They're not going to want to do it. So be confident, make it normal, and then your customer will feel that energy. Third is memorize the approach. Say it all the time. It's probably one of the most important ones is memorize the approach. Okay, so right after this, you want to memorize this now that you all have it. Like I said, print it off. Fourth kind of thing I have is social proof. That's what Lenny was talking about, was social proof. That's just when it comes down to mentioning recommendations throughout the whole demo, right? Once you get to the names and uses part, or like even the sets or like the starter sets, whatever it is, hey, this is what my mom got from me. She loves this piece. This is what Sally, the person that recommended you, just got from me 2 demos ago. She is so excited to have it, right? Just things like that. This is what, the neighbor Joe got. He got this starter set and he's planning on upgrading soon. Whatever it is, you're mentioning other people throughout the demo, and especially the person that recommended them. So that's why it's important. You want to at least make a sale. It helps a little bit when it comes to that. And then the last thing I have is incentivize. your recs. So at the bottom here, I usually just incentivize it, give them something if they give me enough recs. So if they give me 15, actually, I think I bumped mine up to 20. If they were to give me 20, let's just keep it 15, then I'll give them a free veggie peeler right on the spot. All right. And you can get those at any point from the office for like $7. I think it is. So at 15 recs, I'll give them a free veggie peeler. I just took it on my demos and I would just whip it out. Here's you could literally have this if you give them 15. 50 is just a free knife. All right. You can buy the discounted pieces on Vector Connect at any point. At 75 was a free knife and peeler. Okay. Incentivize it. So when they hit certain benchmarks, it's kind of like the what is it? Sponsorship kind of deal that we do with Rex. So that's pretty much the whole approach. You just have to get familiar with having them go through the app. That's the most important part. You're going to come across two objections, really. It's always going to be, I want to reach out to them first. Easiest knee-jerk reaction, or like handle the objection. It's literally just great. For people like you, Mrs. Jones, they actually put a feature in the app where they can just do it for you. You click this button and it'll just send out a pre-formatted text for you. That way it saves you time and we can get it done right away. Perfect. And then the other objection is just going to be they don't want to download an app, or like they're uncomfortable with the app. You have kind of two options. No worries. It's a third-party encrypted app, so no one from the company can see any of your information. If you could just download it so the company knows I can actually do my job, so I can get paid for this part. That's why this line is big, because then they'll just download it. Then like, okay, at least this kid will get credit. And then once they get to their contacts, you're like, oh my gosh, Mrs. Jones, there we go. If you can just click 5 right now, that'd be great. So that's kind of how I usually handle that. Or you could just always go back with the old fashioned way, which is just writing them on a piece of paper. So I like using the app. Saves a little bit of time. It's a little bit more convenient because their contacts are literally all right there. And it's just like a mini phone swap with your customers. All right. And I love the phone swap. So this method is so important. And this goes along with all recs in general. No matter what script you use or process, whether it's the old fashioned way or with the app, recommendations all comes down to really those 5 things that I mentioned. Have a good demo, confidence, memorize it, incentivize, and social proof. So whichever method you use, you just have to get good at those things. I like the app because I got good at it and I memorized this whole approach. And I always knew in the back of my head, worst thing that happens is that they're uncomfortable with the app. Boom, I'll just have them write down some names on the paper. Okay. Then once they click through all of the people, when they click the view shared button, so it pulls up everybody that they shared with me, I would have like this notebook sitting next to my laptop or whatever. And I would go through, okay, at the top, who's that Jerry guy? How do you know him? Oh, he's my brother. He loves cooking. Great. I'm writing all this down. So that's how you can kind of qualify the people, which I lacked at first, but then I started doing that. I got way better results over the phone because I already knew kind of who they were. And then with the text, they kind of already knew who I was. So it was great. So that's kind of the app. I don't have much time to go through everything. So if you are still like struggling with it, or if you want to get really good at it, then either come to Rising Star Champs Club and I'll help you out with that. It doesn't take long. It really just comes down to memorizing this and getting comfortable with the app. As far as this goes, recommendations are going to help carry you on the rest of the summer. And for the SC2 push, some of you will end up with like 500 more people on your list, which is pretty exciting. Sounds pretty fun. Even more than that too. Okay. So get really good at this, get your average up. And during the whole push, yes, you're going to make a ton of sales and you can do a ton of demos. But then after the push, you're going to look at your prospects app or like the tab or whatever, and you're going to have so many people. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Then after the push, you can do whatever you want, right? At that point. Because you have so many more people. So with the push, really memorize this before the entire push starts. For like these next couple weeks, pretty much every day, I would go through this at least once or twice and practice it. And then you actually want to apply it. So you have to apply it by doing demos. So on every one of your demos from now on. You can give this a shot. But before every demo, I'd go through it and make sure you memorize it. Like I keep saying, because it's so important. But start doing this on your demos, whether that's the old approach or the new approach with the app. Start using it on your demos, okay? Because by the time the SC2 push starts, you're already going to be super good at it. And you're just going to be a pro at getting recs. So then that's how you're really going to build your list. And we'll help all of you build your list, initial list, before SC2 and the push starts. So then that way, throughout the push, you'll get all these recommendations from people that you already know, and you'll just have so many more people. So memorize this before it starts. You all are going to get a ton of recommendations. And again, if you are feeling like you don't really know how to do this or you're still uncomfortable doing it, just let me know and we'll find a time to help you out with it. But I'll throw these 5 things in the chat. Did everybody get the document that I shared in the chat pulled up? Okay, great. So you can use that. I would print it out. This first page right here, I just literally stapled it after page 2 of my manual, just because I knew it was right there. And then I would just still memorize it. But even if I missed a slight line, then I just always had it right there. And then this is really the page that you have to fully memorize when you actually ask for them. So I'd put this at the end, like after page 14, where the usual recommendations approach is. That's what I would do from now on. Start applying this on your demos, and this will definitely get your average up. But that's kind of what I got with Rex. Again, if you have any questions, I'll help you with it later. And I'll throw those 5 key points in the chat as well. But that's what I got.
Awesome. Great stuff, Dylan. We don't probably have time for a Q&A right now, but for some of you, hopefully that was a good review. For some of you, hopefully that was brand new. And if you're not averaging, 10 plus, then you probably just don't have it memorized yet. We used to have people memorize recommendations when they were in training. And then they usually still stunk at it when they were new because you're so focused on like having fun on your demos and I made my first sales, right? And then as you get going and you've done a chunk of demos, then you certainly want to start focusing on it because it's got to be, it's got to be a part of your demo. Like, I'd rather have a no sale and get 10 recs than sell a homemaker and get no recs. I'm gonna sell way more of those 10 people than $1,000, right? Chris just got 10 recs on a demo earlier. You probably should have posted that too, by the way, into the group me, right? Because it's a win. Okay, and Dylan, great message as always. Rex can really be like, it's not going to be the thing that starts the engine, but it's the thing that really keeps it going for a really long time. The reason I was able to sell Cutco throughout all of college was recommendations in the long run. And when you average 10 plus, boy, it's really hard to not have a lot of people to call. So this kind of teed up my message for me. I do have an intermission email that I want to share with all of you that is kind of exciting. And I'll go through my couple things. So this is for everyone. Okay. So reps, assistant managers, CSPs, this just came out literally like an hour ago. Okay. Anyone who sells $1,000 between Tuesday, July 1st, and which is tomorrow, right? And then Monday the 7th. So basically this next week, and I don't know if Monday counts based on how I'm reading that. I'm not 100%. So do it before Monday. You're going to get into a drawing for $500. So you get your normal commission, obviously, and then you're in a drawing for $500 that someone's going to win in our region for doing your job. Anytime there was a contest, whether I was a rep, AM, pilot, whatever, I always wanted to be in the contest. Okay. The first AM that's drawn wins $500. And then, so, right, Tony, and then the first 2 reps drawn win $500 each. First 2 reps drawn win $500 each. 1K gets you 3 chances in the drawing. Okay. So 1K gets you 3 chances in the drawing. Additional chance for every 1K. So if you sell more than $1,000, you're getting more chances in the drawing. So again, 4th of July is already huge. We're just throwing more money at it for some reason. So cheers and thanks to the central region. Um, this is specifically for you, Dale, and I'll just share it publicly because so the whole team can see. The office, so Dom's, right? Have the most reps on the newsletter this week earn Apple AirPods Max, whatever that is. So that looks cool. Get that. Top Dom. So guys, you can win additional to potentially winning cash. You can also win Dylan some AirPod Maxes. And then
Please, those are so.
and then where's this at? And then I also got this. So for assistant managers, sell 15K for the SC2 push. You automatically, not a drawing, automatically win Apple AirPod Pros Max, which I don't know if that's a different thing than what we just saw, but those look cool. Um, so that's the newest update. And if you're not an assistant manager, hey, no problems. This could be you in the future, next summer, or who knows? Maybe you get promoted before then. But that's the same email, it looks like. Okay. So what I'm going to go through, I've got a couple messages in the last hour that we have here, and I'm going to spend some time right now talking to you about the fuel to your business and building up your list. Okay. So for this, you basically just need something to write on. Okay. I'm gonna have you type down a few notes. And this message might be a little different than what you thought. What I'm not gonna do is just give you thought joggers for 30 minutes. Okay, because we've done that several times. And if you're like, I haven't, then great, we can do that with you one-on-one, or we have a recording for you also if you need it. But this might be a little different than what you thought. What I'm gonna start with is the mindset and belief around this topic. And then I'm going to give you some resources. Okay. So, my outcome over the next couple weeks by July 13th, before the all day phone day, is that everyone has 200 leads, 200 plus new leads. Okay. And you can all do that. And trust me when I tell you this, it's almost game over if you just do the assignment. Um, it would almost be to the point where now you still got to do the work, obviously, but like this little thing that takes time and effort, okay, it's gonna set you up to have the push that you want. It's gonna set you up to make 3,000, maybe four, maybe five, maybe 10,000 plus dollars in 18 days. All right, I did this at the team meeting when I asked, like, would you do it for, and I think it was like for 3 grand. And you guys remember that from last week? And then it was like, would you do it for the girl that made 16 grand? And everyone was like, yeah, right. So I'm going to help you get there. Okay. The first thing I want you to jot down, number one, is Cutco's the best home product available. I don't have any slides really. I have a couple slides I'll share later. Cutco is the best home product available. I believe that it's the best home product. And it's the only thing personally that I use every single day that I know I'm never going to have to replace. There's no maintenance, there's no upkeep on Cutco at all, ever. If I want to buy more, it's different. But that piece that I have in the ultimate set that I have in the other room right now, I never have to buy another one. I believe that everyone has the opportunity. This would be the second thing. I believe that everyone deserves the opportunity to buy. So number one is Cutco is the best home product available. Number two is everyone deserves the opportunity to buy. I genuinely believe that everyone should have the opportunity to purchase Cutco. And some people might see it at a booth, but it's a small percentage of people. Maybe they hear about it and go to cutco.com. We sell very little actually on cutco.com relative to everything else. So, and then the rest of it is just you, right? And you're always 1, 2, or even 3 degrees from getting people the opportunity to buy Cutco. Okay. And so I got to the point where I got like where I believed in Cutco so much, and maybe you're there. I don't know, but I got to the point where I kind of felt bad if I didn't show someone Cutco. Almost like it was my obligation as a genuinely nice human being to service the people in my area or in my network or in my, surrounding networks, if you will. And if they didn't get it, no problem, right? They can use their, junk knives for the rest of their life. That's totally fine with me. But I wanted to make sure they had the opportunity to get it because I knew that it would help them out and it would help them save money. And so those are the first couple things is a lot of this revolving around the job and even the names list is just belief, right? I had a conversation with Chris earlier today for a little while, and um, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but essentially, after our conversation, I think Chris left the call pretty uh, motivated or more motivated, not just about Cutco, I think just in general, than when I called him at the beginning. Right. And so one thing is like you should talk to your manager more. If you're not talking to your manager every morning, you're missing out on value that they could provide for you. Sometimes it's things you don't want to hear that you need to hear. And then sometimes it's things that you didn't think you needed to hear that they actually help you out with. There was very few times where I left a phone call with my manager when I was not running an office that I left feeling more discouraged. I usually left a phone call being like, that was good, or that was really helpful. Or sometimes it was like, holy crap, I really needed that. I feel the same way when I call customers. So when I call someone, the outcome is always positive. Okay. Do I always book a demo 100% of the time when I make a phone call? No. But the more calls that you make, the more demos you book. And also, the more calls that you make, the more rude people you'll talk to. But you got to have the belief that the outcome's positive. Right? Now, don't get me wrong, 9 times out of 10, they're probably even the people, right, that you don't think would be that excited. For those of you that have called some of your chicken list, am I right? Most of the people that you call are genuinely like excited to talk to you, or they're like, oh yeah, how are you doing? Good, you haven't heard from me in a while. Am I right? So, and if you haven't done those yet, then like, hey, this is a huge opportunity for you. But that's what you'll run into generally, unless you're like, you know, not a good person or something, which I don't think that that's the case for anyone. So, at least on here. And so you're gonna have a positive experience, and I know it's gonna be positive, even if they said no to a demo. Hey, no problem, right? If you gave me 90% odds and on something, I'd be going to Vegas a lot. If I had 90% odds of winning something every single, like, come on. That's crazy. Okay. So go ahead and jot this down. You're 1 degree of separation from thousands of people. You're 1 degree of separation from thousands of people. And a lot of this is, do I have an abundance mindset where I'm open-minded and I'm gonna figure it out versus a scarcity mindset? A scarcity mindset is someone that's like, poor me, or here's all, the person that's like the world's out to get me, right? An abundance mindset is like, oh, that's really stinky that those things happen, but maybe it's for a good reason. Maybe it's because I'm getting challenged with how I respond to those things. Okay. So you're 1 degree away from not even just thousands, probably tens of thousands of people. Okay. I'll explain what I think about that, what that means here in a second. So is it worth it? Right? Is building up your names list worth it to you? Well, it's an asset that you're always creating. And it's one of the things that you'll have forever, right? Just because you sell someone Cutco in college doesn't mean that 5 years later you couldn't advise them on something else. Maybe they're the customer that buys from you your first, business that you create or start or whatever. Maybe you need advice down the line. Or like there's this one guy that I've sold Cutco to a couple times that when I lived in St. Louis, I got like 3 or 4 different like coffee like meetings with him just because he was a really successful guy and he was like, I like you, I want to talk to you more. And I was like, great. He offered me a job also, but That happens when you do a lot of demos with successful people. Okay. So you ever hear the saying like your net work is your net worth? Your net, right? Work is your net. It's true. In a lot of situations, there's probably some, but like in most situations, that's true, right? Who you spend your time with is usually who you kind of act like or get results similar to. So the same thing is true with Cutco, right? If you're constantly trying to think of other people and you have an abundance mindset, this is going to go really positively for you, right? And then this will impact you not just here, but in the future, okay? So here's the deal. Here's the slow way of doing the job, okay? The slow way is what I started with, which you didn't focus on recommendations when you were new, and that's okay, right? But, if you do 20 demos, yes, you could be off to the races, but if you don't have a lot of recommendations sitting right now, and you've heard me or Dylan or whoever say like, "Hey, don't call them yet," that's because we don't want you to go the slow way. The slow way is skipping the hard and going to the part that's not going to get you where you want to be. So if you work hard this week and next week to get up to 200 names and numbers, and I'm not saying 200 recommendations. What I'm saying is 200 people, 200 new people that you either know or have met before, you have some sort of a connection to. Okay. It could be people that are already on your list that you haven't done a demo for. That's fine. That's fair game. Right. But outside of recommendations, because you don't know them, right? um, Getting you to 200. And while you're doing this, you're building resources and you're building recommendations. And then when you get into the push, picture this, you have the most demos you've ever had going into a week ever. And you're the best at the job you've ever been. And you're better at recommendations because Dylan just taught you and you actually practiced it a bunch over your demos over the next couple weeks. And you have the most sales momentum you've ever had before. And then you have this explosion of demos that just your recommendations just like exacerbate things and it blows things up for you. And then you fall into this category like all of our top reps that never had an issue with names after that. And that's where I was at. And so almost everyone at Cutco reaches, I'm going to call it the danger zone of like, they sit down for a phone jam and they're like, oh man, I don't have as many people as I want to have on my list. I used to have everyone memorize recommendations, like I said earlier, and people would still focus on demos when they're new because it's more fun, right? Some of you have come to this, or, if you haven't yet, hopefully you never do, but a lot of people come to like the oh crap moment where you realize when you look down that you need to fix where you're at. And some of you just need to experience that like, oh crap moment. And then right there, it gives you a decision. And that decision that you need to make will affect everything for you moving forward. Some of you are here today and you're like, I don't have a lot of leads. And you know what? Here's your options. Okay. Number one, you could just not fix your problem and then you could quit and get another job. That's an easy way out. McDonald's is hiring, I heard. Or number two is you could fix your problem and then never have the same issue ever again. And sometimes you ever hear the hot stove analogy where some people like need to like put their hand on the stove just to real like how hot really is that thing? Even though you know it's like a stupid thing to do and you're like, but let me just see how hot. Oh shit, that's hot. Some people need to like experience like the oh, yep, okay, not doing that again thing. And this is where some of you are at right now. Is anybody relating to me a little bit? Okay, so I did this for my first SC2. Okay. And some of you are at the point where it's like, hey, recommendations are important, but you don't realize how important it is until you get to that point. Okay, so how do you fix it? Well, number one, you commit to rebuilding your list. So this is number one. What we're gonna do is we're gonna rebuild your list. We're not we're not discounting anything you already have, but we're gonna rebuild it with some strong people. And then number two, you got to commit to becoming the best at recommendations you've ever been in your life so that you never fall back into that situation ever again. Does this make sense? And that's why I had Dylan kick this off right before this for you. Okay. By the way, I did this my first SC2. I don't remember exactly which push period it was, but one of my push periods, what I remember is I talked to my sisters. I have two younger sisters. So if I was 19 or 20, they were 16 and like 12 or 13. And so I have younger sisters, right? And so I asked them each, and I was like, hey, can you get me like 15 to 20 names of like your friends' parents and their phone number, right? And then one of them, I think it was Suzanne, it's always the older one. She was hesitant. She was like, I don't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then my younger sister was like, sure, I'll help you because I'm her older brother, right? And then I told them both, I was like, well, if you both do it, I'll take you out to Olive Garden, um, and I'll buy your meal for 15, for 15 names, numbers, or whatever the number was. Okay. So long story short, I ended up getting 30 from them. Okay. And then that week, I sold $11,000 worth of Cutco. And I remember the one person that kicked it off for me was my one of my sister's like boyfriend's parents or something like that. And he gave me like 20 recommendations. And I think I sold like 5 or 6 grand that week to that list of those 20. So that one lead made that much. So that right there, that's what a degree of separation is. Some of you are 1 degree away. I look, if you told me right now, meeting's over, you got to get 100 names before tomorrow, I'd be able to figure it out so easy. And you can't do any one that you've done in the past. It'd be so easy for me. Even if you were like, you can't do anyone that you haven't met in the last year, I would figure this out. It is easy. It is simple. It just takes effort. Right. I was talking to my wife the other day about like we have a lot of friends, and I've only been in Kansas City for a couple years, so I had a lot of friends when I was in St. Louis, and in different locations. And I have another friend that when I moved away has made probably zero friends since I moved, and the difference between that is just like meeting people and like being a charismatic person or however you want to make friends. But my point is I could redo everything if I needed to, like today, and have a huge names list. And so I'm gonna help you out with these things, right? Now that week from that one person, right, I sold 11,000 bucks from my sisters. I think Olive Garden cost me 30 bucks, okay? And I made like 5,000 that week. I've never had that good of a return on my investment ever since then. 30 bucks for 5,000. Give me that every day. I got a lot of $30. Okay, if that's the case. So there are so many stories of people rebuilding their list. And the number one thing you have to have strong belief in is why it's worth it for you, and it's worth the time and the grind. And I have so much conviction of the during and the SC2 process in general of what you learn and what you learn from it and what you earn and all of that stuff that I know that it's worth it to do it because I'm living, breathing proof of that for myself personally. I have so much conviction in the process. And when you come out of the push a month later, like we talked about at the beginning of this meeting, you come out an absolutely different person. And you come out, the job is completely different to you. After my SC2 push, I was like, oh, wow, everything's completely different. I have hundreds of names. You'll hear people at the conference that will have added 500. People will add 1,000 names to their list during the push. I was one of those people where I don't know what the number was, but I had hundreds of people on my list after that. And then I was at 30%. I was like, this is going to be easy. I'm going to do this for the rest of the fall. I might even do this next summer. And then I got into leadership, and then that turned into an assistant, and that turned into getting to Olean. And then I was like, shit, I'm going to run an office next summer. So you never know where you're going to be, right? I didn't think I was going to run an office, when I was selling Cutco my first summer. But SC2 opened up everything for me. So, there's people that come out of this and they're like, some people are like, I would love to commit to the SC2 push. I just don't know if I have enough people to call. And it's the number one thing for a lot of people that stands in their way and it holds them back from being all in, which is why we're going to spend the next 2 weeks on it. And then it's a non-issue. Even if you decide, I'm not going to go for it or go all in, but you got your list to 200, isn't it a lot better situation? Absolutely. Right. So it's worth putting yourself out there and getting yourself into a different situation. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about building your list and your resources for a few minutes. And then I'm going to give you some assignments and some tips. Okay. But again, none of this works with a scarcity mindset. It's all about the abundance of ideas. Okay. So go ahead and jot these. I'm going to go through some of the bigger, bulker categories right now. Okay. Number one, jot down directories. And then you can go to school directory. Okay. This is a thing. This is still a thing. There are elementary school directories, middle school directories that you have or that might be in the house somewhere. Especially if you have an older or a younger sibling, same deal, right? Um, Most high schools have an online high school directory where it has at least all of the classmates or the kids' names on it. Sometimes it even has the phone numbers and addresses. At least when I graduated high school, I had every single person's phone number and address of school I went to with. So it's about the abundance of ideas, right? So someone has it in your family, or you could probably look it up. Okay. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't find it, maybe you have a yearbook. You guys do they still do yearbooks? Okay. So like you got everyone, you have the names at least, right? And then you could Snapchat them or DM them on Instagram or whatever. Or you could go right to their mom on Facebook, which I'm going to give some tips on that here in a second as well too. Okay, so that's the first thing. Next thing, go ahead and jot down church directory. Even if you're like, I don't have that, very popular, very common that churches have these. It could also be from anyone. Okay. Kat Kearney, she had a $2,000 fast start. And then she ended up getting a country club directory from her grandma, who was like kind of like her parent, sort of, right? Um, like helped raise her and stuff. And then going through that, she was like starring the people that she knew, and she asked, she's like, "Can I just call all these people?" And her manager was like, "Yeah, you can," which most reps would be like, "I don't want to do that," but she was like a little different, right? And she wanted to call them all. And they just made a custom script so that way when you call, because if you call people that you don't have any connection with, they're gonna be like, wait, who's this, right? And they probably would hang up very easily if you didn't have a good script for it too, which, well, we can help you out with that as well too. I made Gabe one the other day, and it's pretty great. All right, so you've got church directory, right? Again, you're 1 degree away from having a church directory, right? It could be 50 people in there. There could be a 75. There could be 100 people in a church directory, but you're 1 degree away. We had a rep that got recommended to 75 people from the church because his aunt went to the church. And she's like, I pretty much know everybody here. You can use my name. Go ahead and jot down neighborhood directory next. Some neighborhoods have this, like an actual one. Some don't. But what they do have is they have whitepages.com. I'm not going to do this for the sake of time, but if you just go to whitepages.com and type in your address, all your neighbors are there. At least their names are there. Maybe their phone numbers too. You could also pay for premium, which I believe gets you the cell phone numbers. And premium might be $20, but it's also like it's $20. If it helps you add 15 people to your list, is it worth $20? Probably. $20 is one demo. So if you can do more than one demo from it, it's a smart investment. Go ahead and jot down sports next. Right? There's so many directories from sports. Think about how many sports there are that you played in your life. And then think about how many different teams that you were on. So you can dig through and you can find some of those. Okay. Previous jobs that you've had. right? You probably know you met coworkers or you have coworkers at other jobs. Okay. And a directory could be 8 numbers, by the way, but like it's a resource list. Okay. And not all resources are created equal. If you're calling people like from a high school directory and you have no connection with the kid or whatever, like that's way different than calling your neighbor who you're like, hey, I live, you know, the next street over at this address. How are you doing? That's way different of a connection, right? Than calling someone that's a little bit more random. Okay. I'll talk about efficiency on some of the later calls about like, hey, maybe a three-way text works better with this person, and stuff like that. And same thing with the scripts and whatnot. What we're gonna build right now in your assignment is just gonna be to build the list. Okay, it's gonna be to get the names and the numbers. Don't worry about the scripts and stuff just yet. I don't want you to call them without the scripts and stuff just yet. Okay. Next one, go ahead and jot down social media DMs. Social media DMs. Social media right now is the best connector of people in the world. Okay. So what do parents use? Parents, our target market, they use Facebook and LinkedIn. Facebook and LinkedIn. They might use others, but those are the main drivers. Okay. So, and LinkedIn specifically is literally used for DMs. So LinkedIn's an easy one where you can send a DM. That's not even weird. Okay. Um, we had Faith a while ago who DM'd 20 of her mom's friends from Facebook and got 15 phone numbers. The mistake a lot of people make is that they try to do this the day before. It's like the Saturday before the all day phone day, and they're like, I didn't get as many names and numbers. And like, you're not gonna get all of the DMs right away. That's why I'm teaching you this today. You won't get 100% of these. I'm just giving you solutions right now that are gonna help you out later. So let me go ahead, and I do have one thing I wanted to share with you on my slide here. So this is the social media DM to get the phone number. Okay. Again, the purpose of the call is to get the phone number. There is a approach in the manual on page 31. It's a little different than this one, but this would be like if I was messaging my mom's Facebook friend who my mom didn't have the phone number for. And it says, hey, Sally, this is Nate Johnson, Carol's son. I hope you're doing well. I'm reaching out because I'm trying to win a scholarship this summer from work, and I need to show adults my presentation to get credit. Could I get your phone number so I could potentially reach out to you later to see if you'd want to help me out? I just realized I don't have it. And then what she would do is name drop people after that. So she'd say, I realized I didn't have it. Janice, Sally, you know, Patricia, blah, blah, blah. They've all been really nice in helping me out. So if you can name drop some people that they know, that you know they know, that makes it so much easier too. It's social proofing, right? What's it for? Oh, it's for my new job. I can earn a scholarship. I thought you'd be able to help me out. We also had we had Nick a few years back who he ended up getting 60 names and numbers and booked 45 demos off of those 60 names and numbers from social media DMs to his mom's friends and like sisters, friends, parents, and stuff like that. So Facebook is such an easy gold mine for you all to take advantage of. And some of you are thinking like, oh my gosh, this is kind of a lot of little things. Yeah, it is, right? I'm giving you solutions, even if you're like, this might be hard to get these names numbers. Great. Some of you have the opportunity, like in 17 days, some of you have the opportunity to make somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000 in income in 17 days. It should be hard, shouldn't it? Right? What did somebody said this earlier? Everyone would do it if it was easy. Who was that said that? Gabe. Yeah, right? You're saying that at the beginning. So if you're like, oh wow, I feel like I have a lot of work to do. Yeah, because you got big things coming ahead, right? Okay, so you got Facebook to reach out to mom and dad's network, make sure it's okay. Again, that's what LinkedIn's for, okay? You got to think abundantly and think clearly on this, okay? Now, the first thing you need to do in terms of like order of operations is you need to know where you're starting from. So go to your app and you need to know what's the callable number that you have right now. So what that means is how many people do you have in your basically in your phone now button that you haven't scheduled demos with yet? And that should be your starting baseline point. And if you don't mind to text me that number or put it in the chat if you want or whatever, that would be great because I want to know what your starting point is because that's how I can help you build on it. Okay, so tomorrow on PDI, unless we talk tonight as well, I'm gonna ask you like, hey, so you were at this much? Great. How many did you add last night? And then that's the thing that we're gonna talk about and adding additionally to how many demos do you have today and tomorrow? How many demos do you have the day and after? I'm gonna be like, and how many names and numbers are you up to? Okay. And you guys understand it's only gonna grow, right? Because if you do 5 demos, it should grow. That number keep getting bigger, right? So if you can send me a text or a DM or a whatever on here if you want to throw it in there, that'd be great. And get the exact number, right? So you have the exact number. Again, one of you just said something with an ish. It's not the exact number. So all you do is you go to your Vector Impact app, you click on the phone now button. That number right there, that's the number that you have not done demos for people yet. Send me that number. I hear reps all the time. They're like, I don't have that many people to call. And literally had this conversation with someone last week. They're like, I don't really have many people to call. I looked and they had 117 people in their phone now button. I'm like, you have a lot of people to call. You're just being a chicken to call them. That's a different conversation. And some of you are probably there, and that's fine. Cool. The last thing on this, and then I'm going to scoot to our next topic. Maybe I should wait. We have half the group with their cameras off. I'm not sure if that. Am I good to keep going? You think? Okay. Maybe we got someone in the bathroom or a bunch of people in the bathroom. The last thing I'll share with you on this is like, look at the bottom of your contacts, you have a number on there, and like that could be the number of names and numbers that you have. So if you're like, I have 50 names and numbers for prospects, but I have 200 contacts. Well, there's 150 in there that are floating that you could get the phone numbers for that are like parents' friends. I would assume that they're your friends that you need to get their parents' numbers for. So there's a lot. Okay. So I really want you to take massive action on this. And I'm going to ask you if I can help you hold yourself accountable, which I asked that in key staff for a lot of you earlier today. But with this building of names, I'm not going to hold your hand through it. I am going to advise you and give you tips on it, but like the name of the game is simple. If you have 200 names and numbers ready to rock before the all-day phone day, you're gonna have a really good experience that day. And if you don't, you're gonna have a less fun experience, and you're gonna have to call the same people over and over again. And trust me, from experience, that's not the way to do it. Okay. All right. So we'll help you individually with this as well. I might host like a random like, hey, here's a names list workshop as well too. But you gotta take where you're at right now and start moving the needle forward on your names list or on your callable list of people. Okay. All right. I'm gonna move to my next topic here. And what I am gonna do is I'm gonna give you a few tips on goal setting that I think are really important. And then I am going to give you that video to be able to take home with you, that you can watch on your own on building up your names list and your goals list. Some of you maybe have already seen that one, so that's why I didn't want to play it for the group. But here's what I'll share with you. I think there's a few things that matter when you're setting a goal. Okay. So number one, and I'm going to talk specifically for Cutco. Okay. Number one is you got to print out a thermometer. Okay. You don't need to do this today, but like you got to have a thermometer. I'm just going to show you my screen. Okay. So just go to Google, print out a thermometer like this. Okay. And then next to it, you got to have, 2,000, 4,000, 6, 8, 12, whatever it is, right? Whatever the goal gets you. I don't even care if you fill this out. But number one is you got to have a thermometer. Okay. There has to be a measurement that people can be attracted to with your goals. And as they see it getting filled up, that's an exciting thing for them to be a part of as well too. Number two is you got to have a what's it called? A demo goal. Okay. So I can't do this on the computer, but on a piece of paper, what I used to do was I would literally label it 1 through 60 or whatever my goal was. And it was a piece of paper. I mean, you could probably even Google this if you wanted to also. Paper with 1 to 60 labeled on it. Yeah, whatever. It could be this. I don't care. Okay. But maybe not that exact one. But I used to label it like 1 through 60 on a piece of paper like this, something like this. And then I would cross out the number that I was on. And I was like, thank you so much, Martha. You're my 22nd person that's helping me. Oh, this is ironic for 60. You're my 22nd person that's helping me towards my goal. As I mentioned, it's to do 15,000, but I know by completing 60 demos, I'm going to be able to make that happen. So thank you so much. And then that's another plug for recommendations. So I always had a demo number and I always had a sales goal. I always had a demo number and I always had a sales goal. You got to have those two things. The third thing that you want, okay, is you got to have a reason why. And that's not this message right now. You can watch that recording if you want to. But you got to have a reason why. There's got to be something that's the driving force for you. Okay. So, like my first winter break, my driving force was that I wanted to have office furniture for my office. And I wanted to be able to save up enough money to be able to, like, you know, have a lot of cash to be able to spend while I'm running my branch office. My first summer, honestly, I don't remember what my why was. I know that one of the things I was interested in was having my first comma paycheck, and it happened. Um, but you got to have a why for the push period of why you're doing something. Okay, because if you don't have a why or reason like that you're going for it, then it's not gonna be the thing that keeps you going when you have one demo in a day and you want five, or when you have two reschedules, or when 50 people don't pick up the phone in a row or whatever, right? And then the fourth thing you want to have is a little bit of competition. Tony, if you can put your iPad in just a normal spot, that'd be sweet. Thanks. It's driving me crazy. So you gotta have some competition. So you should pick some competition on our team for who you want to be competitive with. All right. So I used to do this. I used to print out, I'm not joking, a picture of the person on my team that I wanted to beat. And then I would usually cross their face out in like a red little marker, and we had a bullseye over it. And I would get my customers so fired up with me when I used to say like, "Hey, this is my buddy Grant. Grant is a top rep in the Chicago area, and everyone thinks that he's going to beat me in selling Cutco because he's sold more Cutco than me so far, and he has more experience. He's also taught people how to sell more Cutco, and that's just not going to happen because I'm going to outwork him and I'm going to beat him, and here's why." And I would like list all of these reasons why. And I would be like, so um, I am so all in on my goal that nothing is going to stop me from helping. And you can help me. I'm not asking you to buy $10,000 worth of Cutco today, although you're going to love the product. What I am asking you to is that you like me enough to recommend me to your friends and family and help me to get to my goal of completing 60 appointments so I can, so I can be the one up on stage that's holding the trophy and it's not Grant. And then I would like show them the stage, or like I just painted a picture for my customers and I would be like, and you're going to be the person that's a part of that because at the end of the push period, I'm going to raffle off this to all my customers, that supported me and gave me recommendations and blah 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 blah. And I'll make a huge Facebook post. I'll tag you in it, And so I would get them really fired up to the point where I had people texting me days later being like, "Hey, where's the score at?" And I would be like, "Oh, I'm at 4,207 and it looks like Grant's at about 5,800. So he's got me right now. But don't worry, I have 5 demos today and 4 tomorrow. But any more recommendations you want to send my way would help me a ton." And I would constantly be getting people to give me leads because they were so bought into what? To me and my goals. That's what you want. And it's not as hard as you think that it is. The goals section's like a 10-minute section on the demo at the very beginning when you're building a rapport and stuff. But it means everything, you know? And those were also the people that at the end of the thing, like Lindley said, that I would call and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm super close. I'm at this much. He's at this much. Is there anything else that you want to add? Can you toss in essentials plus 5 on the 5 pay for 149? You'll get it tomorrow, whatever. It's $5 a day. What do you think? I know you said your sister, had a birthday coming up." And I would close stuff we're going to talk about the end of the push way later on, but I would close like, you know, orders the last night over the phone. I've seen someone sell, I'm just going to say thousands of dollars sitting in front of me the last night of the push on the phone, calling back to people that said, "Sure, you can call me." I've sold sets and flatware chests over the phone, but personally, the last night of pushes to get closer to hit my goal. Okay, so that's goals. Let me drop the link into the chat box, but I think personally, those are the things that matter the most. Some of you probably want to create an About Me page. I'm sure Dylan or someone else could give you an example of an About Me page, but it's basically you should just have a slide on a Google Doc that you show before you get into like the viewcutco.com slides, and it just says like here's a little bit about me and stuff like that as well too. Okay, but you can feel free to watch that YouTube video. It's about 24 minutes long on how to share goals with customers as well, and it's actually from the girl that I talked about at the team meeting last week, who made 16 grand during her SC2 push. So it's a good video to watch. All right, why don't you take 60 seconds, stand up. I got one more message to walk you through, and it's the push schedule. So take 60 seconds, get a little, stretch in, shake it out, a twist if you need to, and then we'll rock the last 15 minutes or so here. Take 60 seconds, shake it out. All right. Last section here. This is specifically on the push schedule. And then everything else that we have, we're going to do follow-ups individually on. And then next week, again, on Monday from 1 to 4, we're going to have our second MVP meeting where I know we're going to have some guest speakers on selling Cutco specifically. We'll get together a little bit more with some goals. We're going to get to 200 names and numbers if we're not already there at that point. We've got some great messages that are really going to help out a ton next week. And if you thought that this was helpful, next week is going to put the pieces of the puzzle together a lot more. But what you do now till then really helps you kind of lay things out a little bit more for yourself. So I'm going to share my screen with this part here. And you gotta have a good schedule if you're gonna have a good plan. Okay, so I'll give all you this, so don't sweat it. Okay, but here's the start. Okay, so here's where we're at today. It's Monday. Hopefully, some of you have some demos. lined up today. You should explode after this with some energy and momentum. If you don't, use it for a phone jam. If you don't have demos tonight, you can still get demos tonight booked up, and tomorrow and Wednesday as well too. So this week goes as follows, like we talked about this morning on key staff. Okay. Tomorrow starts the 1 week contest for the $500 drawing. We have the team meeting Wednesday. You got Thursday wide open for demos. I would be phoning this evening for a little bit, depending on how much you book up, so that you have a good 4 before 4 on the fourth opportunity, 5 before 5 on the fifth opportunity, 6 before 6 on the sixth opportunity, right? And then Monday from 1 to 4, we have the MVP meeting, part two of this, okay? And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This should just be doing demos, gaining confidence, building your list, and also building more recommendations. Think about if you do 10 demos this week. Some of you should do more, but I'm just saying, if you just did 10 this week and 10 next week, you're doing 20 demos. Even if you stinky on the demos with recommendations, you're adding 100, maybe 200 plus people to your list before the push period starts. Now, I'm not saying to do that and don't add more. I'm saying do both, right? Recommendations are the fuel, but you got to have the base you got to have the rocket ship, so to speak. You can have fuel, but you got to have the rocket ship to be able to take off with. So, really take advantage of the 4th of July contest. I want all of you to be on the newsletter so you have a chance to win $500. I think that's freaking awesome. Even if you have a busy week or whatever, like you can absolutely be on the newsletter, no matter what, right? You could do it in a day, right? And then you've got Friday, the 11th, and then Saturday. We'll still have Rising Star open, and this is a great day to get some demos booked up. I have a lot of people that will book their first 5 to even 10 demos for the push on Saturday to get really ahead of stuff. And they'll get a couple for Monday night or whatever for some momentum. And then Sunday again, we have the all day phone jam where we'll meet at the office, okay? And then bring all your good stuff. And it's okay if you show up to the all day phone day and you've never made, even 50 calls in a day before. That was probably me, and when you're around other people that are doing it, it just makes it a lot more simple. Okay. And it's also pretty motivating, and there's a lot of Joe codes going around, and it's like one of the most fun, tough, but yet rewarding days. And if you prepare the right way, you always feel really good on Monday. And then Monday we have the SC2 kickoff summit. And then you can do demos that evening, or you could phone jam more to hit your number that you want for your push. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are going to be stacked, absolutely stacked with demos. We even pushed the team meeting back a little bit so you can get an extra one in on Wednesday night. And then your Wednesday and Thursday night phone jams will keep you booked up. Now, I'm going to also share a story with you because there's a lot of, that we do on the all day phone day, but Jack Ryan, he did 103 demos for his SC2 push on 15 sales days, right? So there were 17 days, 2 all day phone jams during the push. So 15 sales days. We have 16 this year and 18 total days. But if you take 103 divided by 15, he was doing about 7 per day, right? And the reason he only booked 15 on his all day phone jam, but he booked 5 on Saturday. He booked 5 more on Monday morning, and then he booked a few more that night. And he still ended up with 25 plus going into the push because he pieced it together. Every morning at the Alliance, if you book 2 or 3 demos, which none of you have ever done this before, maybe Dylan, where you show up at the office every morning and you book 2 or 3 demos every single day for even a week straight. None of you have done that. And what you also have to realize is that this is going to be so filled. And if you're making 2 or 3 demos every single morning, let's just even talk about for what was it, 6 days of the week? 6 days. That's 15 to 20 demos basically that you're booking for the week in the morning before 9 o'clock. And then you've got before and after demos. And then you've got like the Wednesday team meeting, the Thursday, like you're gonna have the demos as long as you get the names, which is why I'm spending so much time on that part today. Okay. But when you piece things together, most of you haven't done 20 demos in a week. A couple of you have, but most of you haven't even done 20 demos a week. And you could book that just from the mornings. But if you go into the week with, 20 demos booked up and you book two every morning, that's 14. That's 34 demos. Let's say you complete 30 of them or 25 of them. That's a huge week. And that's not a big number either. I've seen someone book 43 demos at an all-day phone day before. And he had a $20,000 plus push period. His name was Garrett. Okay. And then you've got the next week, and it's kind of just on repeat from there. You've got still Rising Star, which we call it the Alliance meeting. We've got the father of all phone jams on Sunday. And then we've got a grand day here. You've got a grand day on Tuesday, right? And then you've got the second weekend of the push, which is huge, which is your Friday and your Saturday. You've got the last phone jam, and then that sets up your last 5 days, which are the potentially the biggest 5 days. And then on Saturday and Sunday, that's where I'll be doing some PCs and some interviews for our Leadership Academy and Olean. And then I do have a Top Golf thing that I have planned in my schedule. I think it's Saturday from 2 to 5. I gotta double check. But some of you are gonna get an invite to that. Um, some of you will. There's gonna be different qualifications for like what I pay for and all that. But we'll have a chance to kind of hang out a little bit. And then on Sunday, for those of you that have been invited into leadership stuff, you're gonna learn how to schedule people for interviews for 2 hours on Sunday. And then it's boom, phone jam for the week, so you have some momentum. And then boom, we're in Chicago for Monday, Tuesday, and we're back at it. So. I'm gonna edit this a little bit and then I will share it with everybody. You won't need it this week anyways necessarily. So, but that's kind of what I have for the walkthrough of this that we call it the money schedule, if you will. All of the stuff that was in the green, if this wasn't super obvious, all of those things are just demo spots, right? And then you can even print this out if you want to, and you like that better to do it on paper. You just want to have something where you're really organized and you have your own stuff, in your schedule and whatnot as well too. Any questions on the schedule? Okay, cool. We've got 5 minutes to kind of wrap up. Love to hear just, if everyone can just go boom, 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 we can end our meeting. What was one of your, if you want to look at your notes, what was your biggest takeaway and biggest action step from today? Biggest takeaway, biggest action step. Biggest takeaway, biggest action step that you're gonna take. And it's okay to say the same thing as someone else, as we're all doing something similar. Whoever wants to kick it off, kick it off.
How possible it is to get those 200 names. Like, I want to do like 10 a day starting tomorrow or something. And is that a good plan to just find 10 new ones a day?
You could.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. Um, I generally wasn't the best at like, let me add 10 a day. I was kind of like a person that I just wanted to sit down for 3 hours, bang it out, and just
Mhm.
like let stuff fly. But
Okay.
everyone's different. So, but yeah, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, 10 a day, you'd add 70. I don't know if that's exactly where you want to be, but that'd get you 70 by the meeting next week, right?
But then by the next week, and then it would be 140 by the all day phone jam.
Mm-hmm. Depending on how many you have now, yeah, maybe you're already at two, maybe you're already there at that point. That's great. That
Mhm.
that depends on how many you have, but that's a great takeaway. You can split it up and do 10 a day. My suggestion on that, Cole, would be like do some, today. Get some because you have the momentum, right? Um, That's great. Thanks for sharing. How about everyone else?
I guess I can go. My
Yeah.
biggest takeaway was trusting the process when it comes to the push. So you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, average days, obviously. And then my biggest action plan is making sure I do phoning before and after every demo. So
I love
at
it.
least five. So
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, if you don't like doing big phone jams, then avoid doing big phone jams by just, splitting it up here and there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can go next. I think my biggest takeaway from all this was like your 1 degree of separation from thousands of people. And like part of that was like your network is your net worth. And so I think my action step is to really go onto like white pages starting after this, or just really like dig deeper into those school directories. I already tried doing this, but I think I can go a few steps further and get those 200 names that I need.
It's awesome. Thanks, Gabe.
I think I'll go next. I think the biggest takeaway, I really like the analogy of the kitchen consultant. I think that pretty much sums it up, what we do here. um, and then I think the biggest action step that I'm gonna try and take is I'm gonna try and get like 15 per day, of on my list, and you know get that built up and get that 200.
I love it. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, my biggest takeaway was that like I'm gonna have to build my names list. I think I have like 67 on people I can create a demo with. And I want to have more than 200 to going into SC2 push. So I think I'm just gonna have to work hard, get a lot of recommendations, and then try to see if I can connect with other people in different ways.
It's great. Yeah, again, it just needs to be somebody that you either know or that knows of you, right? And there's a lot of those. hmm yeah, Lander, go ahead.
I really agree with Gabe that it was like we're only 1 degree of separation away from the group of people that you may be able to like, selling up and you actually reach your goal. So for my action step coming from this, I think I'm gonna work on networking on Facebook, like reaching out to like directories and friends of my parents and
It's great. I love it. I love it. It'll be different for everyone, but it's all relative with getting you there. Getting you there is the part that matters more than anything. If you took only that away from today of just like, I just got to get to 200 names and numbers of people that know of me or I know, you guys are going to do fine. You all know how to sell Cutco. You can get better, obviously, right? But like, you're going to be great. Okay. Dylan, anything else to add? I know your computer thing happened, but
Yes, sorry, I'm on the way home now. I'm struggling with some Wi-Fi, but I think pretty much just what everybody's said so far is really just building your list, and I think splitting it up day by day and just uh, taking it slowly and 1 step at a time, whether that's 10 a day or 15 a day, like Chris said. I think that's a great goal, and I think that you'll feel a lot better after every day and moving into the next day if you hit your goal of whatever number that is every single day. And I think that's a great action step for me. I just want to be able to help as many people as I can hit that benchmark, whether that's through PCs or just like little, uh, you know, 2-minute phone calls every day with as many people as I can to help them out, help them out with that and stay on track with them. So I think that's my kind of action step. But I think there was a lot of nuggets today. I really liked Lindley's message. Even you, Nate, had a lot of good stuff to say, but um, overall, it's a lot of good takeaways.
awesome. Thanks, Dylan. And thanks everybody for your time. It is 5, so I want to make sure we end on time. We let you go. Have a great rest of your Miracle Monday. Finish the week strong. Let's start this week strong. Let's get y'all on the newsletter. Get you a $500 chance at the drawing as well too. And then if you need anything tonight, give me a call. Okay. Have a great rest of the night. Thanks. See ya. See you
Thanks.
next week.
Bye bye.